Hello and welcome to Martyn Lucas Investor. My name is Sensei and we have Brad Garlinghouse live from Davos. That will be coming up very shortly on this show. So I'd like to welcome you all into this morning's very early show. I know some of you, it's very early for you. So thank you for tuning in. So please do hit that like button. Please do subscribe. Brad is speaking at Davos. This is going to be a very exciting event. I'm going to break it down before it happens. I'm going to put the timer on the screen. But yeah, let's get straight into it. So a bit of breaking news from Donald Trump, because he's speaking at this event as well. Let's go straight over here. We've got breaking news that, I'll put the time on the screen, that Air Force One, which President Trump recently boarded, heading to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, has suddenly turned around and it seems to be headed back to DC. That was a few hours ago. I think we've now basically got an update that he's switched planes and he's back en route to Davos. He might be 3 hours late, but his speech, to the best of my research have done, will be going ahead on time. So we've got Trump speaking after Brad Garlinghouse as well. It seemed to be an electrical fault, I imagine. But yeah, about an hour after Air Force One departed Washington, it headed back to the US. So that's some breaking news from Air Force One. We do want to hear Donald Trump speak after Brad, so I assume it looks like it's scheduled to go ahead on time. However, Trump will be arriving to Davos 3 hours later than expected. So that was some breaking news coming out of there. We've also got breaking news from Brad Garlinghouse. About 1 minute ago, he did an X post. His X post says, extremely positive to see RLUSD listed on Binance. So Ripple's just posted, Ripple USD has a deal with Binance. RLUSD is officially listed on Binance, supported on Ethereum, with XRPL coming soon. So yeah, everyone obviously wants to see XRPL, not to pay those Ethereum gas fees, but XRPL is coming soon. Brad Garlinghouse reposted this saying extremely positive to see RLUSD listed on Binance. This is about 17 minutes before he's scheduled to be live from Davos that he posted this. And this sort of broke his silence. He hadn't posted for a good few days before this. So extremely positive to see RLUSD listed on Binance. That is an X post that came out moments ago as well. So let me go to yesterday's newsletter. Today's newsletter hasn't come out yet. So that normally comes out in a few hours. So after this show ends, I'll be working on that more. But yesterday's newsletter, that's why we covered Brad Garlinghouse in the deep dive. So let me go over there and let's get prepared for this speech. So the Davos inflection point, Ripple, and the new institutional plumbing. So in about 16 minutes time, we're going to have Brad Garlinghouse take the stage. He's going to be taking the stage with a few other people. He'll be taking the stage with the group chief executive of Standard Chartered. We're looking at banks. We've got Brian Armstrong, the co-founder and CEO of Coinbase. We've got the CEO of Euroclear. Of course, we've got Brad Garlinghouse there. We've got CNBC anchor Karen, and we've also got the governor of the Central Bank of France. So that is the panel we've got in front of us. I'm sure Brad Garlinghouse will give his opening remarks as well, but that's all happening when this timer hits 0. So we are 15 minutes away from that. If you haven't hit the like button, I know it's early, I know it's not the normal time of the show, but please just take 1 second. Hit the like button. I'm waiting. I'll wait. Let me have a drink of water and wait. I apologize for the bottle. I don't know where my mug is. So there's always a Karen says gas fees. Yes. Please, guys, hit that like button. I'm still waiting. It doesn't look like the likes are going up. I'm waiting to see the likes go up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe as well. Okay, so Are we are we all, has everyone hit the like button? If so, let's can tickle people. Price shot 50% off the lock-in. I don't know what you mean, Don Joe. I don't know what you mean. I know you're frustrated with the price. It's because you had too high of expectations based off other influencers that liked to hype people up. A lot of people are frustrated in the XRP world. It's just because you had really unrealistic expectations. XRP isn't a get rich quick scheme. XRP is an asset. It is a crypto. Yes, it's volatile, but that doesn't mean it's just going to print you money. It takes time. It takes dedication. It takes understanding. It takes controlling your emotions to come out on top of something like XRP. It's not just buy and then the next day it goes to $100. It's not your fault. It's the people that are influencing you, but you need to now wake up and think, actually, all those influencers that told me all these random price predictions, none of them have come true. XRP is not a get-rich-quick scheme. I can make money off it, but I can't invest my whole life savings into it thinking tomorrow I'm going to get rich. That's not what's going to happen. It's risky, it's volatile, it takes time. This is the panel we're looking at. Asset tokenization is accelerating quickly, moving from early experiments to full deployment across major asset classes. As adoption expands, it promises new ways for individuals to invest while presenting traditional firms and emerging innovators with complex new dynamics. What does this shifting landscape mean for the architecture of global markets and the value ultimately delivered to participants? Tokenization is the next biggest thing. It's happening right now. Brad Garlinghouse has made it very clear he is in that world. He wants to tokenize things. He bought G Treasury to do just that. And he thinks it's a big market. So it'll be very good to see Brad Garlinghouse's thoughts about tokenization, how many times he mentions XRP in this panel, how much he tries to push that on the other panelists and advocate XRP. That's what I want to see, if he even mentions XRP. That'll be very interesting. I always want to see when Brad speaks, because when Brad speaks, I can get an idea of his sentiment towards, his sentiment towards the XRP, RLUSD, the company. So yeah, I'm going to be watching how many times he mentions XRP and what he says about XRP. If he doesn't mention it at all, I will be slightly disappointed. Okay, so that is all happening in 12 minutes time now. Let me quickly go to your comments, because I won't have time to go to your comments when we're about 5 minutes away. So I'll read some comments now, and then about 5 minutes time we'll get ready for the speech and then go straight into the speech. We got a donation from John Doe. Thank you so much. We got a super chat from Don Joe. Looking forward to the show. Thank you. $5.80, $5.89. I love it. I love it. I understand. I didn't see that before. Now I know what you meant. Thank you, John Doe. Good morning, everyone. Says Karen Diesel Raiders is here. Human being Liz. Martyn's here saying it's time to make money. Money for nothing, XRP for free. I hope it crashes so I buy more, says Martyn. That's not what that's what a normal investor says. If a normal investor likes an asset and the thesis doesn't change because of the price drop, or the price drop isn't because something's fundamentally changed, an investor would say, brilliant, I'll buy more. Journey 2pack6 says, I read that comment earlier. I replied to you. Let me just skip through a little bit. Journey 6pack says, hear me out, tokenized Greenland on the XRP ledger. I love it. TN says, what's the OS, the number 3 behind my name in purple? It's how much you engage with the chat, how much people who do super chats. I think it's the top 3 sort of most engaged members in the chat. Martin Lucas says, now you all understand why I took profit from Coca-Cola. Another 4,000 last night. Now all in SGov. Also inflation on the rise again. Now 650,000 available. I'll be buying more XRP with you. Thank you, Martin, for keeping us updated. And thank you for your trades on Electrum and Discord. There was a great service on Discord yesterday. It was like Martin was on stage on Discord. not on a physical stage, but on stage on Discord, there was all those people listening and could put their hand up and join the stage. I joined in. That was great. So if you haven't got Discord yet, or you're not an Electrum member, you can see all of Martyn's successful trades recently, and you can join in on that. That will be, the link is in the description. I wonder if I have it here. No, I'll make sure I add it to this. Yeah, if you go into the description, you can see Discord. Lol, I'm more engaged than Sensei, says TN. I love it. Yeah, as well as because I'm speaking, I can't chat as well. 75% S-Scarves, 25% XRP, says Diesel Raider. Has Air Force One need an oil change? Morning from No You're Wrong. Trump himself needed an oil change. Diesel Raider says Air Force One had to refuel in North Korea. RLUSD on Binance. Yes, that's what we started the show with. I told you all about that. Made it. Good morning, everyone. Yolanda, you are up very early. Thank you for making it. Is Larry Fink asked Brad questions on stage? No. Martyn says, I'm here and buying all in cash equivalents ready. I love it. Martyn is watching, ready for an opportunity to buy XRP. TN says, nope, it's real. He's jumping in. He is jumping plane. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So yeah, that's exactly right. The breaking news we brought you was Air Force One took off, had to turn back. They switched to Air Force Two or whatever it's called, his secondary plane. So it's going to be 3 hours late to Davos, but his speech is planned to go on time. And the other breaking news was Brad Garlinghouse is extremely positive to see RLUSD listed on Binance. We are 8 minutes away from Brad taking the stage, so let me have the final look at the comments. Then we will get into it. Yeah, Brad is definitely talking in 8 minutes. Is Trump talking right now? That's a fake YouTube stream. Trump is on board a plane right now. He wouldn't be talking. That's a fake stream. Urban Firewood says, fully expecting nothing to happen. Okay, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. It depends what's said. Thailand says, hi, Sensei, how are you? I'm doing well. How are you? Martyn says, this is 100% live and I'll be live soon for Trump. Yes, this is real. I'm reading everyone's comments in real time. Sensei, I'll buy a pitchfork. Bought 30,000 of XRP building to 100,000, says Martyn. There we go. Always a Karen. I'm not frustrated. I'm loving it. Yeah, hopefully he'll announce XRP. I will be live on Banks. Yeah, that'd be great as well. Let me see if I can go through some more comments. Bold at the time of the event is on screen. Yeah, the time of the event is in 7 minutes. 7 minutes until the event starts. Every 10% drop, I double using my tax lots. You see me do this over and over live on the show. Yes, really look forward to seeing your next buy, Martyn. I'm doing a morning bingo card, taking a shot of whiskey every time he says XRP. What a dry week it's been so far for XRP. 190 holding for dear life. I'll take, we've got a super chat here. I'll take Martyn Sensei Vaz over Brad, Trump, and Z. Thank you very much. 6K XRP purchase. Good. Oh, wow. Congratulations to you. There we go. There's the link from Martyn for his Discord trades. Just info. Don't attack me. Followed one of the Lucasade members that mentioned yesterday and now looking and asking ChatGPT regarding info. And I just say most of it is the news subscription. I don't know what you're talking about. If you can make that a bit more clear. If you're suggesting in any way that the newsletter is like asking ChatGPT, that is ridiculous. And we've disproved it many times. It takes 4 hours a day to research a newsletter. If you go and ask ChatGPT, its knowledge is not up to date. On the most part, it hallucinates. It gets things very wrong. We spend about 5 hours a day doing the newsletter. So if you could think you can replicate the newsletter with ChatGPT, I will offer you a very lucrative job opportunity. Because if you can get the exact level of detail and make sure everything's right with an AI, why not? If we can do it with the right amount of technical level, but it's not possible. We use specific AIs to help us write, but the research takes hours. You can't do that with ChatGPT. Buy the rumor, sell the news. We'll see if it is one of them. Potato Family says, "How's Baby Sensei?" We are going to. I had to cancel a appointment today because of everything going on. So I think we're going next week. So we'll see. I'll give you the next update next week. Thailand is here. I need to. Was it the electricity today? Okay, I'm gonna have to skip through this. You must get the newsletter now, says Martyn. I use it for my trades every day. Thank you, Martyn. Yeah, let me give everyone the link, and I win on every trade, as you see. Yeah, me and Martyn really work together behind the scenes on all of this. Sort of the show's newsletter for our notes to get the fundamental research, and then, as you heard there, Martyn uses it for his trade. So it's sort of, if you want the full package, consider getting Discord, consider getting the newsletter, and consider watching us on YouTube. Let me just give you the link for that. In fact, I'll start it as a video because Brad is about to take the stage. So, breaking news on Martyn Lucas Investor. My name is Sensei, and we are 4 minutes away from Brad Garlinghouse taking center stage at Davos. We also just got breaking news that Brad Garlinghouse is extremely positive to see RLUSD listed on Binance. And we also got the news that Trump is coming to Davos. We knew that, however, his plane took off and then had to turn back an hour after. So Air Force One, people got a bit scared, but it turns out it was probably an electrical issue. He's back on board a different plane, and it looks like he will be heading to Davos about 3 hours later than expected, but his speech is expected to take part at the right time. So we've got this panel taking place in a second with Brad Garlinghouse, but before we get onto that, we've got even more information today. So I just want to tell you about a new service we are providing with the newsletter. Every single day, every trading day, we come out with a newsletter that tells you all the things you need to know in the market. It's normally the 5 top stories plus a deep dive plus a chart of the day, maybe a little, normally there's the market snapshot, the one big thing, the number that matters, and then at the top there's the brief. So every day you get everything you need to know for the day ahead, and you're building on the knowledge. Too many people just use X as their news sources. Too many people listen to other news sources which are just overtaken by corporate sponsors. So you get that as part of the newsletter. That's what we've been doing. That's what I set out to do about a year ago. I set out to there was too much fake information, too many sponsor people that were just making things up. I wanted to go against that and create my own media company that goes against that. So we've achieved that goal, and we're going to continue to make that better. What we're now adding to the newsletter is a fundamental challenge, a £5,000 challenge. It's starting this week, so it's the best time to get on it. It's not a trade service where I tell you what to buy and not buy. It is telling you my research behind my biggest wins. Tesla at a couple thousand%, XRP at 1,000%, Rocket Lab at a couple thousand%. All of these that I picked at very low prices. I want to tell you, I want to share with you sort of the playbook behind that. And that is launching this week. And we're going to start, I will be telling you what I'm buying, why I'm buying it, and the research behind it. So that's something launching this week. Next week, we're launching the chart analysis course. So again, I always use charts alongside my fundamental research. I also trade, and there's too many people selling AI courses and how to all of these complicated indicators. Charts are very simple. You need to keep them simple, otherwise there's too much information. So we've got a very simple chart analysis course that anyone who's an expert or a beginner can learn. That's coming out next week. And the week after, we've got a budget planner, debt planner, sort of a net worth tracker, so you can see where your finances are before you start investing. So all those 3 products are launching in the next 3 weeks. And to mark that event, what we are doing is we are doing a 60% offer. We have never done anything like that before. There is what you get. You get the XRP weekly newsletter. There is a free plan as well. I know some people can't, even with 60% off, some people can't afford it. There is a free plan as well. But what you get is the XRP weekly newsletter, the full access to the you can one-on-one DM me. There's a chat feature, everything like that. You get access to for 60% off. It's the first 5 people every day, and we're running it for 7 days. So go and check it out. The link is in the description. It's also in the live chat. It is 60% off. But now what we're going to do is go straight over to Brad Garlinghouse. Let me go over Yeah. So let me go to the screen over here. I'm not sure why that did that. We've got it's starting any second now. So let me change this. If you have just tuned in, if I can ask everyone to please hit that like button. Join us, about to hit 110,000 subs. Yes, please hit the subscribe button. Please do subscribe and hit the like button. Also, to go alongside the newsletter, we do have the Discord and election service. That is Martyn's trades. You've seen how successful he is. He tells you when he's trading them, his limit orders. There, he answers questions. The link for that is also in the live chat, and it's also in the description. So if you're watching this as a video, if you want to go and get the full package, I would strongly recommend you. You don't need to get Electrum and Discord. Obviously, it's best to get both. But if you haven't got Discord yet, do consider getting it as well, or Electrum, because he posts them on both of them. Both have their individual perks as well. Discord allows you to have a stage event, and Electrum gives you other perks of bronze and silver on the YouTube membership as well. Okay, so we are very close to this starting now. Why is that just moved? Okay, Brad will take the stage any second now. This is the program here, so I'm just going to double check this. Any second now, we'll have Brad taking the stage. Is tokenization the future? This is it. Yeah, we're just waiting for this to start. Here we go. It looks like it's starting. Thank you, everyone. Good luck to you all. Let's see how many times it mentions XRP. Let's see what happens. Let's go into it.
Welcome to this fantastic panel on tokenization. I'm Karen Cho, anchor of Squawk Box Europe on CNBC. Now, just to remind you how we arrived at today, it was a few years back. I was at a property conference in the City of London. I left the conference convinced that just about every physical asset would be tokenized at some point. Would be buying a piece of the Shard, the Empire State Building, pretty much any piece of real estate was up for some sort of fractional ownership. But talk went quiet, superseded by AI fever. But it's readily apparent in 2026 that there's been a ton of work happening in the backdrop. We've got banks, we've got asset managers, crypto players, other innovators have been quietly working on the innovation. And of course, the Trump family not so quietly storming to the space, promising to bring real estate assets onto the blockchain and to tokenize Trump properties this year. Now, is tokenization on the cusp of a breakout year in 2026? Is it the future of global finance? We have a terrific panel, and just a reminder, you can get involved on socials, hashtag WEF 2026. So on the panel today, we have joining us Francois Villeroy-de-Galhau, who is the Governor of the Central Bank of France, also ECB Governing Council member. Bill Winters, Group Chief Executive, Standard Chartered Bank, also International Business Council. Valérie Aubain, Chief Executive Officer, Euroclear Belgium. Brian Armstrong, Co-Founder and Chief Executive Officer, Coinbase. And Brad Garlinghouse, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Ripple. Thank you so much for joining us today. Well, Governor, I want to kick off the conversation exploring why we are here today talking about tokenization. France has the G7 presidency this year. You've put innovative finance on the agenda already, talking about tokenization. Why?
Good morning, Karen. Good morning to you all. Let me first stress that tokenization and stable coins might be the name of the game really this year. If we had been in Davos 1 year ago, remember, nobody spoke about stable coins. And now it's very fashionable. I hope it will be still more important this year than Greenland, but we'll see. And let me stress that tokenization is for the better. I really believe it will bring progress in global finance, delivery versus payments, diminution of cost of financial transactions, etc. By the way, we don't know yet how far the use cases will go. If you look at the forecast for the volume of stable coins, including on the US market, the bracket is very wide. And it's interesting because at present the use cases are concentrated on the crypto exchanges and a bit cross-border. I think it will come to domestic financial transactions, very significant. Could it come to domestic, quote-unquote, economic transaction, including retail? The jury is still out. But anyway, it will develop, and I think develop for the better. That said, there are threats. And as I am a central banker, let me insist a bit on at least, I gave a speech 2 weeks ago with a triangle of threats and a triangle of answer, but let me sum up. The first threat is privatization of money and loss of sovereignty for many jurisdictions. And we know this is a real fear, especially in emerging countries. But if we have only a currency in the future which is private, and let us be honest, which is issued by American issuers, private companies, then we will have a question on sovereignty. Here the answer is CBDC. And let me be very brief on what we do.
Guys, can we please hit the like button?
Because we are pioneers here. Everybody is focused on the retail side and the so-called digital euro. But I will insist more on the wholesale side, because as I said, the most important use cases will be wholesale on the financial. Here we develop a wholesale CBDC, and let me stress that the URI is completely pioneer. We will have this year, thanks to the so-called Pontes project, a pilot wholesale CBDC, first worldwide. And then we will have a so-called APIA project, more comprehensive, with a European ledger or a European network. But let me insist, and I will stop there, Karen, I don't want to be too long, that we still need a two-tier monetary system with public central bank money, which is the anchor,
CBDC, CBDC, CBDC.
Tokenized currency in euros and not only in dollars. And this is a question of stable coins in euros and or tokenized deposits. The jury is still out. It's up to European banks to develop and to choose. We could have both of them, be it stable coins in euro and tokenized deposits in euro, bank deposits. But if we have none of them, I would be a bit worried about sovereignty. And what I say for the euro area is still more important, as I stressed, for many large emerging economies.
Governor, a terrific scene set, and we'll circle back to some of those topics. But let's hear from Valerie next up, because you're a clear part of the infrastructure in Europe. You've been looking at pilots tokenizing Eurobonds, UK gilts, gold with partners. What does tokenization promise to achieve, and how transformative do you think it will be?
Well, I think tokenization is, we see that as an evolution of the financial market, of the financial securities market, in the sense that with tokenization, you will certainly be able to reach out to a bigger range of investors. You will give access to finance to many more people. So when we talk about inclusion, financial inclusion, I think tokenization definitely is part of the game. But I think it's also important for issuers, because if indeed you start reducing the time to market, you start reducing the cost of issuing, I mean, that also, it's a benefit for the issuer side. Having said that, as the Governor was saying, the use cases start coming. So I think we start seeing emergence of interest and volumes into the digital assets, especially on the security side. I think we have started an initiative with Banque de France to tokenize the commercial paper in France. I think for me it's a very interesting initiative, because it is the first time that we are really trying to move a full market, a full ecosystem on tokenization. Because today what is very difficult.
Guys, please can everyone take 1 second to hit the like button. Brad Garlinghouse is on this panel. He is about to speak. Please be patient, but please hit that like button and subscribe while we wait for that to happen, and take advantage of the 60% offer I've put in the live chat.
So it's not small, but it is small enough to make sure that we can all learn the lessons and see how we can transpose this initiative in a broader sense.
Bill, let me come to you. You're on the record as saying most transactions will be tokenized by 2028. Are we really 2 years out from sweeping moves towards tokenization for transactions, or was that too optimistic?
I'm not sure I said 2028. I definitely said that the end state is one where most things will settle in digital form, and including real assets, but not everything, of course. But we're, I think, at a major inflection point right now. I'm not sure no one was talking about stablecoins a year ago, but clearly it's gathering momentum. It's gathering momentum because we've made the leap in many fronts between the crypto world, where stablecoins are absolutely embedded, and the TradFi or traditional finance or fiat world, where stablecoins and related tokenized instruments are finding their way into the mainstream. I would say so far it's in pilot form in many sandboxes. It's initiatives like the wholesale Euro CBDC. There have been other earlier stages with ECNY, but not really used in commercial transactions, the Chinese currency in the same way. But this is the year when this is happening in scale. And I have no doubt, no less conviction than I did a year ago, that eventually all things will settle in digitized form. How we get there, I don't know. I mean, we as a bank, we're operating in 60 countries on the ground, another 60 that we deal in very actively, and that means we've got 60 plus regulators with 60 different regulatory regimes. So how we get from point A to point B will be heavily influenced by regulation, but it doesn't change the direction of travel.
We can pick up on the regulation point in a moment. In the meantime, Brian, you are one of the biggest advocates for tokenization in the room. You've talked a lot on CNBC about the institutional demand that is coming into the mix. What real-world problem does tokenization solve, and how does it promise to improve the future of finance?
Yeah, well, tokenization solves a lot of problems. I mean, there's an efficiency aspect to it. You can have real-time settlement, lower fees, but maybe the most powerful part of it is just democratization of access to investment in high quality products. A lot of people have heard about the unbanked. There's actually an unbrokered segment of the world as well. There's about 4 billion adults who don't have access or any ability to invest in high quality assets like the US stock market or real estate or whatever. So what tokenization can do is, it's just like you have an underlying unit of that asset. You now have a token that's one-to-one representative of that. The first version of this was stablecoins. That's another version of tokenization. So stablecoins have been growing enormously. We're now seeing that happen with US equities, real estate. It'll happen with corporate paper, commodities, like all kinds of things will come on chain. And this is just going to allow the people of the world to participate in this engine of wealth creation, which most of them don't have access to if they're only dependent on their labor for some source of income. So it'll be a great boon for capitalism. It'll create more demand. When we speak with funds like at BlackRock and Apollo, they've said they want to tokenize every single fund that they have, and they just know that it'll increase demand for their products. So Coinbase launched a product called Coinbase Tokenized, which is helping institutions do this, and we're incredibly bullish on it. If I can make one other point, just to build on what the central bank governor here said earlier, I do think that stablecoins are going to play a major role. I think central bank digital currencies can also play a complementary role. And people think about our current financial system as kind of sacrosanct and it's the only way to do it. But if you study the history of money, really it's got created in like 1971 when Nixon went off the gold standard in the US, and we currently have the system where most central banks don't have any link to a hard commodity underneath. I think fiat currencies are going to continue to exist for a long time, but we're also seeing the birth of a new monetary system that I would call the Bitcoin standard instead of the gold standard. And in the crypto space, that is a return to
what is he on about?
Sound money and something that is inflation resistant, because democracies around the world, once we came off the gold standard, are struggling to balance their budget. They're all running deficits, and it's caused inflation in fiat currencies. And so there is a real segment of the population that is looking for a new system based on hard money.
Brad, on that note, there are lots of sound bites there, lots to respond to. You're already seeing the momentum. First up, tokenized assets on Ripple's XRP ledger surged over 2,200% last year. Just weigh in from your perspective.
Well, I think I agree with a lot of what was said here. I do think the first poster child of tokenization was really stablecoins. You saw, as Brian observed, massive growth last year. I think, went from, in 2024, $19 trillion of transactions on stablecoins. Last year, in 2025, is $33 trillion, so about 75% growth. I think many in our industry would say that's going to continue. I think to the extent there's space between what Brian was just talking about and how I think about the Bitcoin idea of a Bitcoin standard, I look at that and I think it's much more of the marriage, sovereignty of fiat currencies, I believe, is for many countries sacrosanct. Ben Bernanke spoke at a Ripple event many years ago, and he made the point that governments will roll tanks into the street before giving up monetary supply, giving up the control of monetary supply, which stuck with me as, yeah, that makes sense. And so at Ripple, we very much focused on building the bridges between traditional finance, as Bill was describing,
much more sensible.
What we now call TradFi, and decentralized finance. And that has meant working with a lot of the banks around the world to kind of build those bridges.
Governor, you have to address this. Is the euro in danger from a Bitcoin standard?
No, I'm a bit skeptical, Brian, sorry to say it, about this idea of the Bitcoin standard. We left the gold standard, but the gold was only a technical mean. What is important is what you say, Brad, that monetary policy and money is part of sovereignty. And we live in democracies. And I
Guys,
think
this is the difference between two CEOs. One is clever, Brad Garlinghouse, one is
really
hyping.
You lose a key function of democracy. That said, I always keep repeating that money, as long as it exists for centuries, has been a public-private partnership. You need a public anchor, whatever its form is. Remember, and silver and gold were sovereign assets, so it was on the public side. And then you had banknotes, and you will have CBDC. But anyway, the most important part of payments is in the private sphere, and this is the development of tokenized private money. But this tokenized private money must be regulated to inspire trust, confidence. And this is another danger we should treat, that tokenization could develop, if not safe enough, financial risk. With the multiplication of stable coins, which are very different, which are fragmented. This is the issue, Bill, you mentioned. And so we must have safe enough regulation. This is MiCA in the euro area. This is now Genius in the US, which is welcome. Because if stable coins are not enough, we could have the risk of a somewhat Gresham's law, you know, this famous one, that the bad currency is more used for transaction and the good currency, which would be CBDC, would be kept for store values. Right. So I think we are on the right track to regulate. We could improve MiCA, still more improve Genius perhaps. And the question of compatibility you raised, we discuss it in the BIS. I happen to chair the BIS. There is a so-called Agora project, and we will discuss it in the G7 in the French presidency. Right. But regulation is not the enemy of innovation. Once more, it's a guarantee of trust.
It's fascinating that you say that. Brian, you mentioned a complementary role that you could play. Is there a complementary role in Europe when there's so much regulation and it is about the digital euro?
Yeah, I actually think these are very positive sum. So crypto just broadly is a technology to update financial services. So it's going to help with stablecoins and tokenized equities and crypto assets and trading. And by the way, borrowing and lending is also getting updated. So I think that crypto is very good for fiat currencies. It's very good. Bitcoin is good as a check and balance on deficit spending, because when there is a lack of trust or people, from like in a U.S. context, if people are worried about inflation, or maybe in places like Argentina or Turkey or Nigeria, they are going to flee to the thing that they believe is going to store value more. So I think in general, it's going to be very complementary. And like you said, I think it comes down to trust. And so if fiat currencies can maintain trust and not have, the money printer kind of debasing everybody, then they'll survive. But if countries that have bad behavior on that dimension, Bitcoin doesn't have a money printer. The supply is fixed, and people will go to it in times of uncertainty, kind of like they did with gold.
So
what is
the
all
guarantee
about?
For trust is independence on central bank side, and we have a common mandate, and we are accountable to that.
Why has the CEO of Coinbase come on today and all he wants to do is promote Bitcoin? I mean, all he's saying is ridiculous as well. In times of stress, people go to gold. No one's been buying Bitcoin.
Very useful role, but...
Bitcoin is a decentralized protocol. There's actually no issuer of it. So that's in the sense that central banks have independence, Bitcoin is even more independent. There's no country or company or individual who controls it in the world. And so anyway, I think it's a healthy competition because if people can decide which one they trust more. And I think it's actually the greatest accountability mechanism on deficit spending.
Bill, come in.
Yeah, I'd like to come back on the trust comment, because we're talking about the trust in the instrument itself, which is key. And obviously, the trust and sovereignty are two conflicting objectives. And the Bernanke tank point is very real. That's very real. And I'm sure he's right. I'm sure he's right today as well. But there's also trust in the infrastructure. So for a monetary system to be effective, you have to have the instruments that work, and you have to have the pipes that work. And the people who are custodians of the pipes and the people who are the custodians or the market, that's the custodian of the instrument, need to be trusted by the sovereign entities. Unless sovereigns are prepared to give up power and go to a completely decentralized world. But that's not the way it seems to be happening, and I think we'll probably hear about that later today as well, in a very different context. Power matters when it comes to money. So the trusted entities in the financial system today are many. But I'll put banks at the center of that, mostly because we've been regulated to the point of extinction in some cases. But we've been regulated aggressively on the back of misdeeds. So there is an embedded trust in the banking system, which is why Standard Chartered has been, I'll say, at the forefront of a few of these initiatives, because we want to parlay the trust that we collectively as banks can bring to the system and lever these fantastically powerful new instruments in a complementary way.
There's an element of trust, but there's also an element of momentum. We're seeing it in terms of the swing away to gold, which is now just a momentum trade as trust is eroded. Brad, do you want to come in on this and the element of trust?
Well, I certainly think momentum is a big part of this. And I think, frankly, I personally think the crypto environment and stablecoins included, and even tokenization, but momentum is so much on our side of that direction. And that's partly because you're seeing the US, the largest economy in the world, has been pretty openly hostile towards facets of crypto and blockchain technologies. And that has shifted dramatically, starting with the White House, but certainly, the work that the industry based in the US has come together and helped elect a much more pro-crypto, pro-innovation Congress, and you're seeing that play out. So I think momentum is a big part of this, and continuing to make sure that we're playing into that in a nice way, but also demonstrating real results. Because look, if this is just hype, I think part of the tokenization topic, the main topic today, part of that is we shouldn't tokenize everything just to tokenize something. There has to be a positive outcome of efficiency or transparency or some of the root benefits of being tokenized. Otherwise, it's just okay, it's a nice science experiment.
I'm surprised no one's throwing democratization of the market to me, and that's typically the argument when we have some sort of innovative approach to an asset class. Valerie, do you want to come in on this and the perspective that you have? Because today, as we talk about real-world assets, there is a huge switch towards alternatives, and you're looking at what that means in terms of access to some of those products.
Absolutely. And frankly, coming back on the point on trust, we just wanted also to bounce back on that. I think also as the market mature, people are looking also for, trusted party who can really continue to bring safety for the market. But they're also looking for institutions which are bridging different zones, different pools of liquidity. And this is where a financial market infrastructure starts playing a role, because indeed we need to first see how the market is emerging, but then when we are starting to reach a certain level of maturity, then indeed having a financial market infrastructure which can allow interoperability between different pools of liquidity, but also with the traditional finance, has a lot of value. And to come back on your point about alternatives, it is indeed correct that the market is in search of investment products which are meeting more their needs. Maybe sometimes traditional finance has not evolved sufficiently fast to really attract those investors. And I do see as well tokenization, but also alternative, to be a way to increase the attractiveness of the European capital markets. Typically, we know that we have lots of European savers, but not investors. And having instruments which are really addressing their questions in terms of risk profile, but also in terms of access, ease of access, will certainly be good as well for the European capital market. So alternative tokenization, as you were saying, complementarity between the Bitcoin and the traditional finance, I think all of that, is good for the growth of the financial markets.
The attractiveness of the asset also in some parts comes down to yield. And it's funny, gold's been so attractive, but doesn't pay a yield. There's a fight brewing stateside around regulation, and I know, Brian, you've had issues with the Clarity Act, and now it's stalled thanks to some of your opposition. You've been talking about whether there should be a reward paid for some of these tokenized assets, almost like a dividend. Just explain that notion to us, because the Chinese are pushing ahead with the revamped yuan that pays some sort of a dividend. Why is it necessary in your view? Is it just pushing the agenda for Coinbase, or is it good for consumers?
Ooh.
Yeah, so the legislation in the US has been making good progress on market structure, and I wouldn't say it's stalled. I'd say there's a good round of negotiation happening. And so I think that that's positive. What we shared publicly was that we want to make sure any crypto legislation in the US does not ban competition for traditional financial services, banks, or traditional securities brokerages. And in our reading of the draft, that's what it did. It actually unfairly penalized crypto companies. We think they should be able to compete on a level playing field. And when there's competition, that's how the consumer benefits. And I think there's very forward-thinking bank CEOs like Bill Winters and others that have just really been leaning into this as an opportunity. They recognize change as, you can think of it as a threat or you can think of it as an opportunity. So the smartest bank CEOs are leaning into this. Some of their lobbying organizations in DC are trying to put their thumb on the scale and ban their competition, which I have zero tolerance for. So we're going to speak up if we ever see that happening. But yeah, I think there's two main reasons why, in this case, the main debate is around stablecoins paying rewards. First, it just puts more money in consumers' pockets, right? So I think people should be able to earn more money on their money, right? That's the high level. It's also about global competitiveness, though, like you said. China did just come out recently and say that their central bank digital currency is going to pay interest, okay? And then there are offshore stablecoins that are actually larger than the US regulated ones right now. And they would love it if US stablecoins were banned from paying rewards, because it allows them to flourish offshore. So we need, from a US legislator point of view, they should be ensuring US regulated stablecoins are competitive. Same thing from a European stablecoin point of view. I hope Eurocoin and et cetera continues to grow. And we're in a global competition. We need to make sure that consumers benefit, and each country puts their interests first.
Governor, to that point, does the digital euro need to pay some sort of an interest?
No, the answer is no in our case.
Why?
No. Let me explain, perhaps with a somewhat philosophical remark on this apparent opposition between innovation and regulation. Because I'm a bit fed up with this opposition. Let me explain. So this idea that Europe would be only on the regulation side and innovation only in the US. There is an apparent contradiction, I agree. But there is a common purpose in the long run, which is trust, and we mentioned it. Regulation without innovation, I am not interested. I say to the central bankers, it would be status quo, statism, I'm not interested. But innovation without regulation, it could create serious trust issues. Financial crises exist, and they are born sometimes of misleaded or dangerous financial innovations. And financial crises have a very high cost. This is why we need regulation. So I think it's common interest to find the right balance. On this question of remuneration of stable coins and or CBDC, we haven't looked at the effect on financial stability on the banking system. I don't want to enter the US debate. We see where the interests are. There are also private interests. They are legitimate. But the public purpose should be also to preserve the stability of the financial system. In our case, CBDC, and especially the digital euro, is not intended to attack the banking system and its deposits. So we should be cautious on the transfers. I strongly believe in complementarity on public-private. And this has been the monetary system for centuries. It's a change of technology today, but it's not a change of principle.
Right. Brad, come in on this, because you're the innovator in the room, but you also believe in regulation.
Yeah, I think what's going on in the U.S. right now it is a classic dynamic of when you create new law, it's never going to be perfect. And I think what's the dynamic within the industry and working with Congress has been kind of, I subscribe to the idea that perfection is the enemy of good, and you can't get to perfection. And so I think Brian's exactly right. We're as close as we've ever been in providing that clarity. as some in the room probably know, Ripple lived through a 5-year battle with the U.S. government being sued because of the lack of clarity. So we are very much an advocate of clarity is better than chaos. Again, I think Brian's right. We are very close. I don't know if we stalled.
What about the reward side? Rewards, dividends, interest. Is it necessary on stablecoins?
Ripple doesn't have as much of a dog in that fight as others in the industry, and so there's others that have stronger opinions. It doesn't directly affect Ripple's business as much. I agree in some ways that, look, competition is good. And I agree very much with the idea of level playing field. Now, I also think a level playing field goes 2 ways, in that crypto companies should be held to standards that banks are, and banks should be held to standards that crypto companies are in order to compete. So I don't think that's a one-way street, that somehow Team Crypto gets to have a certain pass in some way.
Bill, let's hear from the banker in the room. There's pragmatism. Money goes where there are returns and where there's the best option. Your bank also operating big corridors across Asia as we talk about digital yuan, as well as in Europe. So how do you see this playing out? Do any of these tokens need to have some sort of an interest-bearing element?
I think if I could be very simplistic about it, I think tokens are going to be used for 2 things. They'll be used as a medium of exchange. No particular need to bear interest for a medium of exchange because they'll be instantly transmitted, and they'll be used as a store of value. And as a store of value, they're much less interesting if they don't carry a yield. But there will be tokens that are called stablecoins. There'll be tokens that are called tokenized bank deposits, which will probably bear yield, and there will be tokens that are called tokenized money market funds, which will definitely bear yield. That's the whole point. Right now, stablecoins are big and liquid, super. The CBDCs don't exist yet. In a commercial scale. Maybe they will. I hope they will in the right form. And tokenized money market funds, of which we've issued in currencies like Hong Kong dollars, or eventually it'll be CNH, Chinese currency, will exist. And they will be useful as a store of value. And our research estimates, everybody's got their own numbers, and maybe we'll get to $3 trillion of outstanding stock of stablecoins in the next 3 or 4 years. The bulk of that is going to be in developing economies where there's lack of confidence in the local currency, and stablecoins of whatever form, it could be Bitcoin, will be used as a store of value. Bitcoin's quite volatile. Everybody knows that the US dollar is the US dollar. You like it, you don't like it, but you know what it is. So that money is going into stablecoins today. It may go into tokenized money market funds in the future if they're available and if they're bearing yield. Frankly, we don't care. As a bank, we don't care. We want our customers to get the best thing for them. So if it's a medium of exchange, we want to provide them with the entry point and the exit point. And we do that today. They like us for it, and we'll keep on doing that. When it comes to store of value, especially in emerging markets, got to be compliant, right? There's probably a black market transaction someplace that gets that local currency out of the local currency into US dollars. Sometimes it's legit, sometimes it's not. That's always been an issue, and as a bank, we're a policeman. That's our job, is to try to prevent that. Unfortunately, banks don't prevent most financial crime.
Valerie, come in on this, because we've spent all week talking about European competitiveness. And if we're talking about different regulation, different approaches here, is Europe going to be left behind?
I'm an optimistic person, and I'm a European. So, I don't think that Europe will be left aside, but Europe has to accelerate. I think and I think 25 has been a year where everybody realized that there is a need indeed for fair competition, for a level playing field, but also for acceleration in innovation. And I think there is a willingness in Europe to do so. And again, in my field, which is securities business, Euroclear as a global footprint, we have been pioneering on the issuance of digital assets about 4 years ago. We start also seeing the value of tokenization for probably collateral management, because one of the, I think the thing that we are really adding to the financial market is liquidity. And if you can start, increasing the liquidity, the movement of the collateral management through different pools of liquidity, that will also again benefit the whole capital markets. Right. So to your point, No, I think Europe has to indeed innovate faster, but at the same time, I think there are a number of banks, there are a number of financial market infrastructure, there are a number of players who are definitely willing to be part of that game, and we will be at the rendezvous.
Just a quick one, Brian, before we open up to the audience. Is there a geopolitical element here? We've got so many stablecoins backed by US dollars. You've got the yuan moving at pace as well. The reality of the future, if there's more transactions in both of these currencies bypassing other elements, does that have consequences for the relevance of, say, the euro and other currencies?
I do think that they're in global competition. Absolutely. China, US, Europe, going down the list, Japan. I mean, in some ways, Europe is ahead of the US because they passed MiCA legislation. So they have comprehensive crypto legislation, while the US only has about half of it done right now with the Stablecoin Act. And we're now working on market structure. So Europe is ahead, but the vast majority of stablecoins are actually US dollar backed still. And so, when I meet with leaders in the Europe, I basically encourage them to move faster, allow some of these things like rewards on stablecoin, which is different than interest and yield, that would allow them to be globally competitive. So I do think Europe, I'd like to see them move faster on European stablecoins.
Governor?
No, I think on this question of sovereignty and geopolitical balance, first, we are all from advanced economies. And this is perhaps missing in the panel, because this development of tokenization, you mentioned it, Bill, is probably an increasing challenge for some developing countries or emerging economies, because it could mean a full dollarization. Let me put it this way. On the other side, it will bring serious economies, cost savings, on the cross-border business. And this is a huge benefit, I hope, for the developing world. But here, obviously, the worry about tokenization is bigger in the South, to put it up. And we had discussion in the G20 by some very important emerging countries, emerging powers, saying we should forbid.
Okay, Brad Garlinghouse is about to take some questions from the live audience. Can everyone please hit the like button? That would be great.
If I may add two other points. On your point, Brian, I agree that tokenization is probably an accelerator of the diversification of the monetary system and diversification of currencies. At present, most stable coins are in dollar for a very simple reason. It's linked to the main use case, which is crypto exchanges. But if we come to financial transactions, and still more to economic transaction, your prediction, Bill, I would be ready to bet for 28 for financial transaction, not less for economic, but we'll see. But if we move to these other use cases, we will have this diversification. Right. And here, infrastructures will matter much. I agree with Valérie. This Appia project I mentioned is really to ID to build an integrated infrastructure in the European market. It will accelerate capital markets union.
Now, we're going to take some questions from the floor. So if you do have a question, just put your hand up and we're going to bring a microphone down to you. Just in the meantime, to our online audience, remember you can get involved. Hashtag WEF26. I think we've got a microphone here in the front. If you want to pitch a question directly to anyone on the panel, please feel free.
Yes. Oh, stand up? Okay. So, hello. Thank you very much. Fantastic panel. My name is Fernando, but the chief economist of a big Brazilian bank. So my point is, what do you think would happen with credit leverage, with duration transformation and monetary policy in a world where stable coins win the game? Let's say it this way. Just would love to hear your views. Thank you.
Governor?
Very simple question. You come from a Brazilian bank. Yes. You said Brazil is a very interesting example where, as you are aware, at present, the Brazilian central bank developed a fast payment system, which is probably the most efficient worldwide, with PIX. And there is now the idea of extending this infrastructure also to a kind of CBDC with drugs. So if stablecoins only win the game, sure, this would mean, it's an extreme case, that money would be completely privatized. I wouldn't be completely reassured, to use a euphemism. We had in the past, again, technology doesn't change the philosophy. We had example in the past where money was completely private, without a serious central bank. Take what existed in the US in the 19th century under your control. And there was no real Fed or central bank, and there were many crises of confidence. So I don't say at all that central bank currency will be dominant, will have a significant market share, but it's an anchor of confidence.
Right.
And it's why I insist so much on complementarity. I think it's the interest of stable coins to be fully equivalent at par, one-to-one, without fees, to a central bank currency.
Brian, coming quickly so we can take another question too.
Yeah, I would just say, in a world where stablecoins grow to that extent, I wouldn't say that they're entirely private money. I mean, in the U.S., at least under the Genius Act, all the stablecoin reserves have to be held in short-term U.S. Treasuries. So they're really backed by U.S. Treasuries, but the privately issued the token. And then I think what will happen is, you mentioned like the transformation or maturation comment. I think that in that world, you're going to have companies that are just have a 100% reserve of people's money held in U.S. Treasuries. There's not going to be a concept of fractional reserve if they don't want to get licensed as a bank, right? And so what does that mean? It means people can earn rewards on those stablecoin balances, but if they want to earn a higher return, the customer can opt in to lending out their money, and that'll have to pay a higher rate than what they could get in short-term U.S. Treasuries. So it actually flips the banking model a little bit on its head.
Right. Another question here.
A much more basic question. Unless I'm mistaken, tokenization built on blockchain technology. Blockchain technology requires compute and electricity. Given the fact that we already have an issue in terms of having enough capacity to cover all the AI that's coming down on us, how are we going to cover all the tokenization that's coming down on us?
Brad, is that one for you?
Sure. I mean, I'll comment briefly. Not all layer one blockchains are created equal. Some use, as you're describing, proof of work. Some use proof of stake. Some use other consensus models. So I wouldn't uniformly put all of the kind of blockchain infrastructure in kind of one power lens. And so I don't think it's as big as a deal. And what you're seeing is most of the activity of stablecoins today is on more power efficient blockchains, either use proof of stake or a consensus mechanism.
Just to add to that, proof of stake uses 99.9% less energy than proof of work.
Right.
Which most of the tokenization is happening on Ethereum blockchain, which uses proof of stake.
Another question here.
I'm Aaron Schwarzkopf. I'm the founder of the largest payments company in Latin America that's non-bank. I see a lot of countries in the global south that don't control their own currency. Why haven't they been on chain already? And what do you think needs to happen to move their whole payment infrastructure to the blockchain and perhaps to have stablecoin replace like the dollars they use locally?
Who wants to take that one?
They haven't because of the sovereignty concern. And I think most developing economies are still, not all, obviously there's some examples of countries that have gone entirely digital and they've given up the sovereignty of their currency. Others have accepted dollarization and they've given up the sovereignty of the currency. Most are resisting that for the reasons that the governor mentioned at the outset. So then it just happens through the back door. And you end up with a de facto dollarized system. But at Standard Chartered, we operate in many de facto dollarized economies. They work. It's not bad at all, actually. But the government has an extremely important lever of power. These are not typically democracies, although they may be in some cases. But the government loses a lever of power to control the destiny of their people, which typically isn't popular with the people. So, but if it doesn't happen through the front door, it happens through the back door. But the better outcome by far is to have a legitimate monetary regime in the first place that's managed by a legitimate central bank. And obviously, many countries in the world have achieved that, not least the European Central Bank. So, no, let's be serious. I mean, like, how many countries have hit their inflation target, consistently over a period of time? I mean, we're struggling with that right now. So, anyway, but you guys are experts, and you're dealing.
Can I only add, on a positive note, I completely agree with what Bill just said, that many of these emerging countries and still more developing economies are very innovative in fast payment systems. So they are more on the infrastructure side than the currency side itself. But I'm impressed by the fact that advanced economies are not the most innovative in fast payment system.
Now, let me
PIX is not the only example. Take UPI in India, take South Africa. There are very interesting things happening on the payment systems.
Right. I want to push on to an issue that impacts Western markets, developed markets, emerging markets. If we have more fractional ownership, does that drive speculation? Because we've seen it in many areas where there's fractional ownership. You've seen it in the retail investor getting involved in many places. You actually have an escalation of that asset class. If you think about single homes, then there was an announcement recently from the president trying to keep out institutional ownership. And if you put that together, was that a preemptive strike ahead of some of the changes that are coming in tokenization? Brad, do you want to touch on that? Does it provoke more speculation in asset classes? And where does that leave the average owner?
Well, you're choosing the word speculation. I subscribe to Brian Armstrong's comment earlier of like opening up investment access, and investment versus speculation. I put in kind of two different buckets. They both have a purpose, and they both have active market participants. But I think the opportunity around tokenization for certain verticals is, in fact, the democratization of access to investment, less so on the speculation side. I don't know enough about Trump's decision to make steps towards banning institutional investment in residential real estate to comment there. But I do think if you want economic exposure, investment exposure to a commercial building in Miami, and you have $10,000 US, you can't do that today. And I think opening that up, and I know Brian's example is even better because it's the many billions of adults who don't have any access. My example is not perfect for that, but you get the point.
Bill?
Look, investments are speculation, two sides of the same coin, versus transparency. So when you have, in a fractionalized world, you'd have much more transparency. Transparency is typically good for systemic stability in the long run, although it can lead to bubbles or bouts of short selling that induce volatility. On balance, I think where we've had nasty financial crises, they've been when there have been problems that some in the market have seen, but couldn't act on and couldn't normalize that. So I would always vote for transparency. Fractionalization should lead to transparency.
Governor, 10 seconds.
No, just to say that yes, to increase access to investment, as you said, but it must go along with increased awareness of risk. And this is the question of advice by the financial industry to their customers and financial literacy. So it should go together. If not, it could be a catastrophe at the end.
Valerie?
I completely agree. I think it's two sides of the same coin. I think it's also according to the risk profile of the people, but access doesn't mean speculation necessarily.
I'll take a different take, which is I think the top 10 fiat currencies of the world will have enough trust to persist, and the next 100 should either get dollarized or replaced by Bitcoin.
And on that note, we are right to time. Thank you so much.
We are definitely missing a developing country.
Thank you so much to our terrific panelists. We do appreciate you weighing in. I think we've all learned a lot about tokenization, so we do appreciate it. Remember to get involved, hashtag WEF26, although I'm not sure if we're still hashtagging anymore. Brad, are we still hashtagging?
We're still hashtagging.
Okay, we're still hashtagging. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, there we go. That was Brad Garlinghouse straight from Davos. We've got more lined up for you today. We've got Donald Trump coming out, and then we've got the carry trade unwind. So still a lot more to go. And shortly, Martyn will be live. I'll be live for the build-up. Martyn will be live with the Trump Davos event. If you didn't know, Air Force One had to pull a U-turn, go back, and now it's on its way back to Davos because of an electrical fault. Trump's speech is planned to go live at the same time. Brad Garlinghouse is positive to see RLUSD on Binance. I'll give you my thoughts on the event that we just saw in a second. But what's happening is Trump's going to be giving his speech. That's going to be volatile. It probably made me even more volatile for XRP. Right now, XRP is turned positive on the day after Brad took stage. Then the big event tonight, Japan carry trade unwind. We've got Japanese interest rates again. Last time we were live for 8 hours, we gave you lots of content. We did many trades and we were successful. We're going to try and do the same again. Remember, nothing I ever say is financial advice, but I want to give you guys the tools and I want to give you the opportunity to access them. What do I mean? Well, right now, it is literally first 5 people every day. That's what we're doing. So I don't know how many people have signed up, maybe none yet, but you've got the first 5 people every day can sign up. I might do something a little bit different tonight, but essentially we've got 6 days left, 5 days left. 60% off for the first 5 people. The link is in the live chat. Today, I'm doing a special newsletter. It's one of the cheat sheet newsletters for the carry trade. Why? Well, because I'm going to put my top 5 charts in there. If you sign up today, you're going to get all my levels for XRP, the levels I'm buying, the levels I'm selling, my full cheat sheet for XRP specifically. That will be in that newsletter. But everything you need to know about the carry trade, what it means, what's expected. If this happens, what does it mean? If that happens, what does it mean? How I'm trading it, the silver chart, the XRP chart, the Bitcoin chart. Anyone who's in the newsletter today can send me a private message and say, I want to look at this chart, and I will look at it in the later event. But essentially, we've got a very own newsletter. Every single day, we send you the market updates, the top 5 things. We send you a deep dive. Every day, we send you the chart of the day. We do event cheat sheets. So today is an event cheat sheet for the carry trade unwind. I mean, there's nothing bigger than the carry trade unwind. We're going to be giving you all the information for that. We've got the deep dive research, XRP newsletter. I mean, it is 60% off, but there is a free plan as well. And you do get access to the XRP weekly newsletter. There is never going to be a better price than this. The only reason we've got 60% off right now is because it was requested many times by people that said they'd love the newsletter, they want a chance to get the newsletter, but they might have been priced out of it. In the future, unfortunately, people might just be priced out of it because of the amount of money that goes into, or research and time and expenses that go into this newsletter. We are launching 3 new products, so I thought, why not at this time just give everyone an opportunity? So yeah, it will never be this price again. 3 big products launching. Obviously, today we've got the FOMC cheat sheet, so that's a reason within itself to get the newsletter. We've got the portfolio challenge. I am starting with £5,000. It's all going to be live and transparent. I'll see if I can pull up the account for you here. I've got £5,000. I'm going to do what Martyn did. He turned £5,000 into whatever it is now, over £300,000. So we've got the account funded right now, £5,000. It's gone up because of interest, but it's at £5,000. I'll be releasing my full framework. What do I mean, my full framework? Well, if I go over to this newsletter over here, I will show you what I mean by full framework. The full framework that's allowed me to catch 1,000% plus gains. So here is that framework. So these are the opportunities these are literally some of the opportunities. We bought Tesla at $15. That's up now 2,600%. Silver at $19. That's up around $400. And that was only earlier last year. XRP at 30 cents a couple of years ago. That's now 1,000%. Rocket Lab at $4 a year or so ago. That's up 2,300%. Coinbase at $40. That's up 700%. Robinhood at $8. That's up 1,800%. And that's just a few. I mean, that's genuinely, it took me about 1-2 minutes to think of those few. There is a list of these, and I'm releasing that full framework this weekend for all premium members of the newsletter. So that will be coming out next week. 8 years of my chart analysis. I'm going to be putting it into basically one video. There might be a few follow-ups, but there is going to be everything I know about charts. I'm going to keep it very simple, because even if you're a pro trader, you need to keep things simple. I'll be releasing my very own indicator. The moving average, again, it's very simple. So the whole chart analysis course, probably a 2-hour, 3-hour video. And then we'll be doing weekly updates, Q&As on the portfolio challenge and the chart course on the newsletter, plus the debt planner and budget planner all coming to newsletter. Later on this year, we'll have the portfolio insights app as well. Right now, best price you can get it. It will not get better than this. Even for the reason of the carry trade, you need to go and grab it. So that's 60% off. Right now, the link is below in the first link in the description. It's also right now in the live chat. So if you haven't got the newsletter yet, then do go and grab it. So what did I think of Brad's speech? Unfortunately, they didn't let Brad speak. And I always get a bit cautious about that. Why don't they let Brad speak? Why don't they let Brad speak? I don't know. Brian Armstrong came out with quite a few weird points. So we had Brian Armstrong on the panel, and he kept promoting Bitcoin. He was very self-interested. Bitcoin is a flight to safety. It's just nonsense, because Bitcoin isn't a flight to safety. I don't hate Bitcoin. I just don't think the technology is great. I like what it stands for. I like the fact that there's never going to be more than 21 million. I like the fact that it's the Fed doesn't control it, or it's the fact that it's decentralized. I don't like the fact that Satoshi holds so much, and I don't like the fact that people think it's a store of value, because it's not really proved that before. And that's what Brian was saying. And then it was very self-interested about yield and what that means for Coinbase. Brian, sorry, that was Brian. Brad then had a little bit to say, and I liked how Brad didn't just cave into Brian and say, I agree with you, Brian, on everything. Brad said it's not really an issue that we think is too important. We would rather the act passes, so nothing's ever going to be perfect. We just have to deal with what we have. And that's because Brad Garlinghouse and Ripple have been through such a awful lawsuit. They know how to navigate the markets. They understand things aren't going to be perfect. And as a business, you just have to adapt to what's in front of you. You're not going to get perfection. And sometimes perfection is actually an issue. So, yes, it doesn't affect Ripple as much, but I don't think Brad was agreeing on Brian on that front. Brian was very weird today with his remarks against Bitcoin. So I will give you some analysis on that in the newsletter as well, the event that we just saw unfold. Let me go over to your comments. Let me know. Say yes in the chat if you took advantage of that offer. So anyone who gets it today, I'll be giving you my exact levels for XRP as well. So let me know. Let me go through the comments. Brad was quiet, didn't sell his company until no, he wasn't, but they weren't letting him. They don't let. It's always very weird. They don't like Brad Garlinghouse. They don't want him to speak. It's very, Brad Garlinghouse can't just suddenly take over the stage and speak. But that CNBC presenter, she was all right, but she wasn't letting Brad Garlinghouse speak. I'm sure Brad was wanting to say a few things about XRP and XRP Ledger and tokenization in regards to Ripple, but they weren't letting him speak. Brad was quiet, 4 years. Brian 5, Brad 2. No, I don't think so. XRP is needed. Yes, I do think that. Diesel Raider says only real ones. Martyn, Sensei, Vaz, Casey, and Papa Trump. Brad, okay. Guys, if you have any questions, let me know. Ruse Family Finance. Bitcoin is not a flight to safety. It's the fact that it's decentralized is the best thing. Yeah. That's what I like about Bitcoin. Anything else about it's pretty awful. I mean, what would I actually prefer? I mean, the thing about Bitcoin is it's decentralized. That's good. But if I'm looking for a store value, I would just be an advocate for digitizing gold and fractionalizing gold, because you can have all the same effects. It's just the fact that there's not a fixed supply. Well, there is a fixed supply, but we don't know what the fixed supply is. Apart from that, gold is probably better. If you digitize it as well, which you can, then most of the arguments against gold go away as well. Matt Kent says, so how far do you think this moves forward for XRP after what you've heard? Yeah, guys, if you have questions, let me know now. How far do I think it moves for XRP forward? Well, I don't think it moves XRP forward in any much further. They're doing what they're doing. Ripple's always a company that starts from the bottom up. They want to engage in regulation. They get their licenses, they get their acquisitions, and then they deploy. So we're on that deploy stage now. They've beat the SEC. They've gone around the world and they're still getting all the regulations and licenses. They've got pretty much all of them now. They're waiting on their final bank. They've basically got their bank license as well. They've got their regulations with the FCA. They've got it in Europe. They've got it in Dubai. Waiting for the Clarity Act to pass in the US. They've got their acquisitions, G Treasury, Hidden Row. Now it's probably a year of getting that all working behind the scenes, integrating those acquisitions. And then I would say 2027 is the year of proper deployment. Ripple always starts at the ground up. And I think once you have a strong foundation, that's most important, because the gains will be much bigger in the future. And I think that future is not too far away now, 2027. Next bull run for XRP, I think it's going to be good as well. Mr. One of Kinder, I didn't care for Brian talk about Bitcoin like he did. Urban Firewood says, most likely we'll be pushing up the daisy by the time XRP moves to about $3. How is XRP trading out right now? Let's have a look over here. XRP is at 190. Gold is at all-time highs once again, up 2% today. Silver is about $95 as well. Okay, let me go back to here. Diesel Raider says 2 wrongs. Go hang out with your right. I don't know what that's all about. Wild Free Speech says XRP versus Bitcoin. Which one will hit 1 million? First race is on. People just don't know. No, XRP will never hit 1 million. What the hell? Martyn Lucas Investor. Are you or Martyn going to be covering the Bank of Japan meeting on the 23rd? It's right after Takashi moves. No, it's not on the 23rd. It's tonight. It will be tonight, I'm pretty sure. Why do you say on the 23rd? I haven't. I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow. Why are you making me doubt myself? I mean, I'm pretty sure it's tonight / tomorrow morning. Bank of Japan press conference Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. Yeah, today. It is today. 2 wrongs make it fair. How you Confederate are easy to show how fragile you are. Troll. What's going on? I don't know what's going on. Matt Kent says, awesome and thank you. I believe XRP will be a huge part in the future. Rules Family Finances says Thursday night for me. It's Thursday night for me. Give me 1 moment to double check this. I'm pretty sure I can just go to the economic. Let me just show you this. People are making me doubt myself. Either way, we'll be covering it with a special edition. Let me see. So today's Wednesday. We're getting a lot coming out of Japan tonight. Adjusted merchandise trade balance, exports, foreign bonds. We're getting all of that. And then on Thursday. Oh, yes, guys. It is tomorrow. I apologize for that. It is tomorrow. So it's tomorrow night. It's not tonight. It's tomorrow night. I got that wrong. It is tomorrow night. Thank you for letting me know. Let me bring this on the screen. It's because there's a lot coming out of Japan tonight. Either way, it doesn't really matter. We'll do the same. That cheat sheet will come out either today or tomorrow. But yeah, there's a lot coming out of Japan tonight. But tomorrow is when we get the CPI from Japan, and then we get the Bank of Japan interest rate decision as well. Yes. So let me just update everyone. The Bank of Japan interest rate decision and their monetary policy statement and speech press conference is not today. It is on Thursday night, Friday morning for some people. So Thursday night in the US, Friday very early in the morning in Europe and Asia. So we will do a special stream for you tomorrow on the Bank of Japan, but I just want to correct myself and say it is tomorrow. Nothing changes. Everything's the same. It is still as important. It still requires its own cheat sheet. In fact, it just gives us another day to get that, to get prepared for it. So, and do some videos on it. So yeah, it's actually better that it's tomorrow. So yeah, nothing changes. It's just not tonight. It will be tomorrow. Trump is still speaking today. Newsletter is still going to be going out as well ahead of the policy decision as a cheat sheet. So that is an update I wanted to make. Let me go and change this to Trump is next. Trump speech next. Okay, let me go back to your comments. Thank you for whoever pulled that up to me first. It's Thursday night for me. Yes, thank you, Rose family. XRP will soon be on a news channel in a world. It starts on CNBC. Wedding smashed Bitcoin. Take a look yourselves. It starts tonight. Says rulers, family, finance. Yeah, it all starts tonight. There's some data coming out. But yeah, no, the main event's definitely tomorrow. Lone Wolf says, how long did it take for Martyn to go to 5,000 to the current amount? 5,000 to the current amount. 3 years, I think. 3.5 years. 3 years. Something like that. Wild, because when I joined the channel, I think it's been at least 3 years now. Has it been 3 years? I don't know. I think it's been around 3 years since I joined the channel. When I joined the channel, we were less than 5,000 subscribers. So about just over 3 years. World Free Speech, Arch Aviation and Swiss have been having good announcements in Davos. They have to hit aircraft to Brian, Dubai, Qatar, Korea, Swiss, and they will start flying in the US taxi. Let's see if there's anything else playing at Davos right now. Potentially we can stay live with it until the next show begins, and I can do some of the newsletter while we are watching the next thing at Davos. Bald Eagle says XRP is going to save the world. Then all these guys pushing Bitcoin will say we've got it wrong. Bitcoin is mostly worthless. XRP is priceless. It just saved the whole world. I don't think it's going to save the whole world. I don't quite know what you mean by that. I see nothing major happening until July, August for the crypto space. Why do you say that? Where's your crystal ball? Can I buy it off you? World Free Speech says XRP soon is the moon. Lizard King says movement is not a moon. Crypto Geology says, what did Brad say? You have to go back and watch. Yeah, well, I'm not, please stop spamming the channel. Liga Man says, brilliant coverage, Martyn, as always. Thank you very much. I'm censored though, but it's fine. Nemesis589 says, what website did you just check, Sensei, which showed you all the events? It's the FX Street Economic Calendar. Yeah, I use it quite a lot. You can't just blindly look at it because sometimes they're wrong, but it's called fxstreet.com, and then it's the economic calendar. What you can do over here is something you can go onto filter. Normally what I'll do is filter for the United States, United Kingdom, Japan. Most of the time, those will be the 3 I go for. But then I would go into impact and I would get rid of anything that's low impact. But if you really just want to look at what's really high impact, to get rid of none, low, medium, you apply the filter, and then you can also go and change the dates. But yeah, as you can see, I've just got a high impact here. Tomorrow, we've got a lot of information coming out. It will be in the newsletter as well. We've got CPE, that's the Fed's preferred metric, and then we go over to the Bank of Japan interest rate decision. For some, it doesn't give you the time. It says not available, but we know very clearly what that time is. That'll be in the newsletter. It's just a window of opportunity. And then that press conference is set in stone for 6:30 a.m. UK time. So that's just after midnight in the US. So that's the website. I'm happy to share that with you. Brad absolutely destroyed it, didn't hold back. Sensei, can you tell us how awesome Martyn is? He is always winning and everyone's jealous of him winning. I go cold turkey, I don't hear it every 5 minutes. Well, he did win again yesterday, a massive win yesterday. If you were in the Discord community, you would have seen his big win. He did a stage on it as well. He posted the trade there. So yeah, he's still winning. If you wanted your daily dose of Martyn winning, he is still winning. DJ Haynes says Denmark sold 100 million worth of US bonds this morning. Thank you for that update, DJ Haynes. Terry says, hello, friends. MP, do we have an MP in the show? MP Jared Granto. Good morning, Sensei. So do you think we'll have hit a bottom of XRP? If not, where do you think the bottom will be? It is all in the, there we go. I'm actually going to copy that right now. There is, I can't copy it because I don't have the link. Martyn, can you send me that on Discord so I can have the new Discord link? But anyway, right now in the chat, you've got Discord Martyn's trades. So you can join on Discord. It's literally a couple dollars, or a few dollars a month. What did Brad say? Sensei, when did you join the Black Eye Gang? I don't know what you mean. If you talk about this, it's probably either because I'm tired or because I've got eczema around my eyes. D. Wayne Phils says everything will run off XRP ledger to transfer what people will get. Banks can have their coins, but they'll still use the XRP ledger to transfer. Crypto genealogy. I'm not going to answer your question because you keep saying it. Lola, bet $10 on Kalashi that Bank of Japan will raise hikes. It's 50-1 odds. Oh, yeah, they probably won't raise odds. And why use it? And why using a gardening background? My background here is because a couple of weeks ago I had to move out of my office in the house because it's being turned into a baby room for our unborn child, and essentially I've been kicked out the house and I've been pushed into the shed. That's the meaning behind the background, is because my unborn baby is not even here yet and he's kicked me out of the house, and now I'm in the shed. The studio is now in the shed. My last two messages aren't showing. A Walton 1701. Please try them again. Maybe I can see them this time. Okay, so let me go back to Davos and see what's going on. We can look at those prediction markets as well. Let's go back to Davos. What was happening? Let's go to the home program on Davos live right now. Live now. So right now it'll be 11 a.m. Oh, 10:30. I think this is the only one live right now. Let's have a look what's going on.
Testing fees, and just waiving a $200 testing fee has made an enormous difference of helping folks that had a barrier they couldn't get beyond to achieving that next major step.
I thought that was Jerome Powell on the left there.
Participating with business leaders for more reentry programming, knowing that when we help those that are transitioning from jail or prison back to life and they can get a good job where they can succeed, they don't commit future crimes, and our communities are safer. And we're also pushing what I think is one of the single most effective ways to set your future workforce and certainly our state up for success, and that's by advocating for pre-K for all Kentucky 4-year-olds. The numbers just in Kentucky say if we can get pre-K for all 4-year-olds, we'll increase our workforce by 70,000 people. That's in a state of 4.4 million. And so while some look over and overlook programs like that, simply by helping our families, simply by making that a little more affordable, we not only help our children not fall behind before they've started, but to really succeed in the future and for their parents to succeed. These efforts are making our workforce stronger than ever before, and I think it's something that every state can achieve, especially if we work together. I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this. I look forward to working collaboratively in the years to come and making a big difference. Remember, we have 1 million people, 1 million young people set and ready and skilled for manufacturing and logistics. They're going to live good lives. They're going to be able to pay their bills. They're going to be able to buy that house that seems unaffordable right now. That American dream will be possible for them.
Well said. As a former working mother with 2 young children, all of those things matter, right, to the lives of people in each of the states. And now I'm going to turn it over to the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. So Michigan, history, long, it's the advanced manufacturing capital in the U.S., and you've done a lot with regard to education as well. And I'd love for you to share your thoughts on how Smart Start can really continue to mobilize the workforce in Michigan.
Well, I'm really excited about this, and I appreciate all the effort that's gone into it and the partnerships that have been built to make this successful, because I think we can do this. But we're only going to be successful doing it if we work together to make sure that we accomplish our goals. The state of Michigan is proud of our history in deep manufacturing. People came from around the world for a good paying job on the line in one of our auto factories, and it got you right into the middle class where you could live a high quality of life, and it's been a source of pride and a big part of who we are in Michigan. But right now we're facing a shortage of workers that we need to build the things that we all rely on, from ships to chips to cars and homes. We need young people to learn skills and land good jobs and have great, affordable lifestyles and live the lives that they want to. And all of that is possible. There are great opportunities in manufacturing, but I think we're hampered by old notions of what it looks like and what the skills are to get into these great jobs. So I'm really excited about Smart Start USA because it's going to connect 1 million young Americans with opportunities and help us build the things things that we need. My Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity Director, Susan Corbin, is serving on the international board, and Michigan is all in as well. So, as we explore options to do more in this space, to bring Smart Start to Michigan, we're going to continue to do our part at the state level. It has to be an all hands on deck and an all.
We are now waiting for Trump to take the stage. This is a live press conference from the World Economic Forum, closing the manufacturing talent gap in the US and beyond. So we've got some big names in here, but nothing massive. I'm going to keep an eye on this. We are now looking at XRP as we expected, a buy the rumor, sell the news. We are getting a little bit of sell-off in the XRP token right now. And I do want to quickly announce that we have one person who's just signed up to the newsletter. So thank you very much to that one person. There is now 4 spots available for today. There's only 5 a day. We can't give away the whole newsletter 60% off. So there's now 4, maybe there's a few pending still, but there's 4 spots that I can see available today for the 60% off deal. So I'll give you the link again. Make sure when you click the link, there is a monthly plan, there is a free plan, but the offer that we're running that will never run again is the 60% off at this price. So if you go on to click the link, type in your email, go annual plan, you get 60% off your first year. Trump's, that's 2:30. Yeah, that's the Davos local time. We are doing the build up to that. Thank you, Vocal Foster. What do you think about the World Liberty Finance token? I don't like it, to be honest. I wouldn't dedicate a large amount. I just consider it a low market cap altcoin. And when I buy low market cap altcoins, I'll buy that as well if I think it's worth buying. Right now, I'm very concentrating in the top 4. Let me go back to Davos. That was what we were watching earlier. We can play the replay. Should we do a replay for everyone who's joining in now? We might do that in shortly, but let me go over here to what's live. This is live right now.
You're right, Governor, on, do people want to do the jobs? These aren't your grandfather's or your grandmother's manufacturing jobs. These are modern technology-fueled jobs, and they're filled with purpose. Yeah. Manufacturing powers communities, it powers families, and fortunately for all of us, it puts
also, if anyone wants a chart request, what you can do, I'll pick a few from the newsletter, and if you want to also do a super chat, we can do $10 super chats for a chart request, or if you send me a message on the newsletter, we'll pick a few from there as well. So that's another additional perk in the newsletter. But also, if you want to do a super chat while we're listening into this live event, we can diverge, do a chart request, and come back to it while we wait for Trump to take the stage.
Are taking control of the narrative. And I think we need to step back and say, okay, behind each of these facts is a human. And these humans are trying to figure out what these headlines mean to their work, to their families, to their futures. And the data is stark. We talk about the million, which we're very proud to be part of at Manpower Group, very proud of the Smart Start initiative. But when we talk about the million, there will be in the US alone 3.8 million jobs needed in manufacturing. And the talk is half of those could go unfilled. Half. And you're right, I get the call that says I need 10,000 of this type of person. Welders, offshore welders, electricians, carpenters, all in great demand. And so the question becomes, what do we do? What do we do with the threat of AI? And yet the data on AI paints a different story. Almost 70% of companies that we've polled say they intend to hire more with AI. Now, no one can read the future, but that's the intention, that's the tone, and only 20% of companies that have reduced their workforce cite automation. And so we need to eliminate the distraction and move forward, and we would say in 2 areas. One is a barrier and one is an opportunity. So the barrier, we have to redefine credentials. Yep. So we talk about, college degree or non-college degree. Friends, it's irrelevant. It is about what you can do and what you can learn, not what you have done. And we as employers who sit here in support of this initiative, and educators and governments, we need to redefine how we're thinking about credentials and reduce that barrier. The second area is alignment. We've touched on it, but think about alignment today. We have employers.
I love that, Rue's family finance.
All running in parallel streams. No one is converging. And it's quite ironic, right? Because the employers know the skills that are needed, the governments actually can break down barriers, and the educators know how to teach. And yet we're all running at this problem in silos. That's the thing we're most excited about. And so, Randy, it was disheartening for me to hear you say you'd be surprised to sit with business. So welcome to business. We're pleased to sit beside you. We can't succeed without you, and vice versa. But we believe we need to eliminate barriers and then drive alignment to actually get this pipeline starting with the million. And I hope we triple that between now and 2033.
Well, I think the spirit of collaboration, that was so well said. And I think that's the power of dialogue, to be honest with you. It started with a dialogue and probably a swift kick in the backside, and then us bringing and pulling together very different, diverse voices over the last year. We have 60, but we've had hundreds of folks with different skill sets and capabilities that are experts. I'll open it up to a few more comments here. We don't have enough time for questions, but I would love to give each of the folks up here a chance to say something.
Yeah, I think something that was mentioned before, just to emphasize the importance of an overall program that can fit a variety of situations across the country, but it's important to build local networks so that the jobs that are created are right for the skills that are created, are right for the industry that's concentrated in that local area. These students need to see that the skills that they're obtaining are right for that enterprise that's just down the road, because a lot of them are going to want to stay close. And so having those partnerships that have a local component as well as national scope that we're talking about today is really important.
So I think one of the reasons I started the way I started is because this is about busting stigma and busting stereotypes. And I think, Becky, you just said that as brilliantly as anyone I've ever heard. And the work that can happen because of WEF, because of a national or international organization that starts seeing all of this, is you help create these partnerships that break down barriers. And we can have an idea in a school or in a district that says, let's try this. And we could go to a governor like Governor Whitmer, Governor Beshear, and say, why don't we try this in Detroit or in Flint or in New Lexington? But then it's not, or why don't we try it with Micron, like we did in New York with 10 school districts but if we don't actually think about this as a huge endeavor, 1 million kids, looking at manufacturers across the nation, governors, Republican and Democratic alike, across the nation, dealing with the in-school versus out-of-school manpower issues and needs that we used to think, oh no, this is in school, this is out of school, aligning the guidance counselors. But I would say one of the things that I'm most excited about is that we need industry to be at the table with us, because without the pathways to jobs, to apprenticeships, young people these days will see it as an empty promise. So I'm really excited to be with all of you, because it does break down all of the barriers and creates opportunity.
100%.
Yeah, I would say the future of manufacturing is and will in large part continue to be human.
Yeah.
And so we need to deal and address the humanity of manufacturing, and again, make manufacturing cool again.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
100%.
I think breaking the stigma is so critically important, and that means when we create our ACTs, or our career and technical education, that we need to have nursing students, welders, robotics students, all working side by side, cheering each other on, because every single one of those jobs is so important. And then I really love the comment on parallel tracks that aren't converging. I think what that takes is not only a commitment to it, but getting rid of that not my job type of thought process, that education can't say, well, curriculum's our job, not my job to connect them with an employer. The employer can't just say, I manufacture this good, not my job to walk into the school system. Government can't say, well, our job is to get that new business in or help them expand, not my job to get them the workforce. I think it's all of us overlapping, and sometimes that's going to be a little duplicative, But I think that's okay. It means that we are vested and we will get the better outcome for it. But everybody hustling, knowing that this is a challenge and putting in the work, I believe that a shared responsibility model can give us our best results that we've seen in my lifetime, at least.
Awesome. Governor, why don't you take us home?
I'll just try to wrap it up by just saying, I think that there's so much potential in manufacturing. There's so much need. When you talk about making manufacturing cool again, I love that because there's so much opportunity, and yet a lot of young people or people in the middle of their lives don't have any idea of what's possible and how we're going to make it easier for people to find their path and to live life that they want to on their terms, and to be able to take care of their family and live that dream through opportunities in this field without incurring a lifetime of debt in the process. I think there's so many opportunities here, and I'm really excited about this work.
Well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Next.
Okay, that was the next event at the World Economic Forum. What we're basically doing now is we're waiting for Trump to take the stage. Today's focus in the world is actually on Davos. There's so much. I'm writing the newsletter now, and all the news sources are pointing towards Davos today as being where the money is looking. But why the market's calmed down a little bit is because the focus has shifted to Davos. So I do want to bring to you a few more Davos, anything that's going live until Trump goes live. While I am working on the newsletter behind the scenes as well. So let's see if there's anything else. I'll also am tracking Trump as well. I think he's about to land in Davos as well. So let me just go over here. Scars on survival. I want to see if any of these are live and worth listening to. We just did that one. Making healthier choices better. Scars of survival. Oh, Jensen Huang. This will be a very good one. This is live right now.
AI is actually essentially
live right now. This is very good.
Is energy. AI, because it's processed in real time and it generates intelligence in real time, it needs energy to do so. Energy is the first layer. The second layer is the layer that I live in. It's chips. Chips and computing infrastructure. The next layer above it is the cloud infrastructure, the cloud services. The layer above that is the AI models. This is where most people think AI is. But don't forget that in order for those models to happen, you have to have all of the layers underneath it. But the most important layer, and this is the layer that's happening right now, the reason why last year was an incredible year, frankly, for AI, is that the AI models made so much progress that the layer above it, which is ultimately the layer that we all need to succeed, the application layer above that. And so this application layer could be in financial services, it could be in healthcare, it could be in manufacturing. This layer on top ultimately is where economic benefit will happen. But the important thing, though, because this computing platform requires all of the layers underneath it, it has started, and everybody's seeing it right now, it has started the largest infrastructure build out in human history. We're now a few $100 billion into it. That's it. We're a few $100 billion into it. Larry and I, we get the opportunity to work on many projects together. There are trillions of dollars of infrastructure that needs to be built out, and it's sensible. It's sensible because all of these contexts have to be processed so that the AI, so that the models can generate the intelligence necessary to power the applications that ultimately sit on top. And so when you go back and when you reason about it layer by layer by layer, and you realize that the energy sector is now seeing extraordinary growth. The chip sector, TSMC just announced they're going to build 20 new chip plants. Foxconn working with us, and Wistron and Quanta building 30 new computer plants, which then go into these AI factories. So we have chip factories, computer factories, and AI factories all being built around the world.
And memory.
And memory, right, exactly. Those chip fabs. Micron has started investing $200 billion in the United States. SK Hynix is doing incredibly. Samsung is doing incredibly. You could see that entire chip layer growing incredibly today. And now, of course, we pay a lot of attention to the model layer, but it's really exciting that the layer above them is really doing fantastically. And now, one indicator is where the VC funding going into. Last year, 2025, was one of the largest years in VC funding ever. And last year, most of the funding went to what is called AI native companies. These are companies in healthcare, they're company in robotics, and company in manufacturing, financial services. All of the large industries in the world, you're seeing huge investments going in to those AI natives because for the first time, the models are good enough to build on top of.
So let's just dive a little further. Obviously, everybody, I'm sure, uses their own chatbot and getting information. So, but you're talking about the dispersion of AI is going to be the key. Let's talk about it, like go into a little more upside ideas related to the dispersion of it in the physical world. You mentioned, obviously, healthcare is a great example of that. But where do you see the transformational opportunities in areas like transportation or science?
Well, last year, I would say last year, I would say 3 major things happened in AI, in the AI technology layer, the model layer. The first one is that the models themselves started out being curious and interesting, but they hallucinated a great deal. And last year, we can all reasonably accept that these models are better grounded. They could do research. They can reason about circumstances that maybe they weren't trained on, break it down into step-by-step reasoning steps, and come up with a plan to answer your question, do your research, or perform the task. So last year, we saw the evolution of language models becoming AI systems that we call agentic systems, agentic AI. The second major breakthrough is the breakthrough of open models. Several years ago, was it a year ago, DeepSeek came out?
Last year.
And DeepSeek was, a lot of people were quite concerned about it. Frankly, DeepSeek was a huge event for most of the industries, most of the companies around the world, because it's the world's first open reasoning model. Since then, a whole bunch of open reasoning models have emerged, and open models has enabled companies and industries, researchers, educators, universities, startups, to be able to use these open models to start something and create something that's domain specific or specialized for their needs. The third area that had enormous progress last year was the concept of physical intelligence, of physical AI. AI that understands not just language, but AI understands, if you will, nature. And it could be AI that understands the physical world here, AIs that understand proteins, chemicals, natural physics, for example, fluid dynamics, particle physics, quantum physics, AIs that are now learning all these different structures and different languages, if you will. Proteins is essentially a language. And so all of these AIs are now making such enormous progress that these industries, industrial companies, whether it's manufacturing or drug discovery, are really making great progress. And one of the great indicators is a partnership that we had with Lilly, that they realize now that AI has made such extraordinary progress in understanding the structure of proteins and the structure of chemicals, essentially being able to interact and talk to the proteins like we talk to ChatGPT. We're going to see some really big breakthroughs.
Yeah, and that's one of the first things I'm going to be researching in that $5,000 portfolio will be the use of AI in medicine. So very interesting topic there.
We need to tell the whole audience, there is a huge concern that AI is going to displace jobs. And you've been arguing the opposite. Obviously, the build out of AI, as you talked about, the biggest infrastructure build out in history is going to occur, which
energy is creating jobs.
Yeah.
Chips industry is creating jobs. The infrastructure layer is creating jobs. Land, power, and shell. Jobs. I mean, right? It's incredible.
So let's get into that a little more detail. So you actually believe we're going to face labor shortages. And so how do you see that AI and robotics changing the nature of work rather than eliminating it?
Yeah, there's several different ways that we could think through it. First of all, this is the largest infrastructure build out in human history. Yep. That's going to create a lot of jobs. And it's wonderful that the jobs are related to tradecraft. We're going to have plumbers and electricians and construction and steel workers and network technicians and people who install and fit out the equipment. And all of these jobs, we're going to, in the United States, we're seeing quite a significant boom in this area. Salaries have gone up, nearly doubled. Yeah. And so we're talking about six-figure salaries for people who are building chip factories or computer factories or AI factories. And we have a great shortage in that. And I'm really delighted to see so many people in so many countries really recognizing this important area. You know, everybody should be able to make a great living. You don't need to have a PhD in computer science to do so. And so I'm delighted to see that. The second thing to realize, and so we theorize about the automation of tasks and things like that, and what is the implication to jobs. You know, I'll just offer some anecdotes. These are real world anecdotes of what has actually happened. Remember 10 years ago, one of the first professions that everybody thought was going to get wiped out was radiology. And the reason for that was the first AI that became superhuman in capability was computer vision. And one of the largest applications of computer vision is studying scans by radiologists. Well, 10 years later, it is true that AI has now completely permeated and diffused into every aspect of radiology. And it is true that radiologists use AI to study scans now. The impact is 100%, and the impact is completely real.
But they found so much.
Not surprisingly, I say not surprisingly, if you reason from first principles, not surprisingly, the number of radiologists have gone up.
Is that because of lack of trust or is that because the human interaction with the results of AI is a better outcome?
Exactly. The reason for that is because a radiologist, the purpose of their job is to diagnose disease, to help patients diagnose disease. That's the purpose of their job. The task of the job includes studying scans. The fact that they're able to study scans now infinitely fast allows them to spend more time with patients, diagnosing their disease, interacting with the patients, interacting with other clinicians. Well, surprisingly, also not surprisingly actually, as a result of that, the number of patients that the hospital can see has gone up because there are a lot of people waiting a long time to get their scans done. And so now, because the number of patients have gone up, the revenues of the hospital has gone up, they hire more radiologists. This is the same thing as happening to nurses. We're 5 million nurses short in the United States. As a result of using AI to do the charting and the...
No, the only reason I turn off the mic is so that there's no feedback. But let me know if there is. I'll keep it on. Yeah, we've got one more person who's just subscribed to the newsletter. So congratulations to them. Thank you very much. There's only 3 spots left, 60% off. I'll give you the link right now in the live chat. But yeah, let's go back to Jensen Huang, who's giving us an AI speech. I won't turn my microphone off. If there's any feedback, let me know in the chat.
More patients could get into the hospital sooner. As a result, hospitals do better. They hire more nurses. And so surprisingly, AI is increasing their not surprisingly, AI is increasing their productivity. As a result, the hospitals are doing better. They want to hire more people. You have too many people waiting too long to get into hospitals. And so these are 2 perfect examples. Now, the easiest way to think about what is the impact of AI on a particular job is to understand whether the job, what is the purpose of the job, and what is the task of the job. If you just put a camera on the 2 of us and just watched us, you would probably think the 2 of us are typists because I spend all of my time typing. And so if AI could automate so much word prediction and help us type, then we would be out of jobs. But obviously, that's not our purpose. And so the question is, what is
thank
the
you.
purpose
That's why
of your
I'll mute
job?
the mic.
In the
Go
case
forward.
of radiologists and nurses, is to care for people. And that purpose is enhanced and made more productive because the task has automated. And so to the extent that you can reason about each one of the people's purpose versus the task, I think it's a helpful framework.
Let's move this beyond the developed economies. Help me understand how AI is going to broaden the world and help the world. I read an Anthropic piece this past weekend that basically said the utilization of AI most recently is very dominant by the educated society. And they're even seeing the educated component of each society being heavily more utilized. And obviously, they're using it against their own model, Claude. So it may have its own biases. So how do we ensure that AI is a transformational technology, maybe like what Wi-Fi and 5G was for the emerging world? And when you intersect that, what does it mean for the emerging world? And John, how do we broaden the global economy? And two, getting back to the whole job situation with robotics and AI, there is going to be some substitution there. And there's substitution in the United States already going on. We may be creating more plumbers and electricians, but we probably need less analysts at financial institutions. Lawyers need less because they're able to accumulate the data faster. So let's just pivot on to the emerging world for a second, in the developing world. How do you see that play out?
Well, first of all, AI is infrastructure, and there's not one country in the world, I can't imagine, that you need to have AI as part of your infrastructure, because every country has its electricity, you have your roads, you should have AI as part of your infrastructure. Of course, you could always import AI, but AI is not so incredibly hard to train these days, and because there are so many open models, these open models with your local expertise, you should be able to create models that are helpful to your own country. And so I really believe that every country should get involved to build AI infrastructure, build your own AI, take advantage of your fundamental natural resource, which is your language and culture, develop your AI, continue to refine it, and have your national intelligence be part of your ecosystem. And so I think that's number one. And number two, remember, AI is super easy to use. It is the easiest software to use in history, and that's the reason why it's the fastest growing and most rapidly adopted. I mean, in just a couple of 2-3 years, it's coming up to almost a billion people. I think, first of all, Claude is incredible. Anthropic has made a huge progress, huge leap in developing Claude. Yep. We use it all over our company. The coding capability of Claude, its reasoning capability, its ability is just really incredible. And anybody who's a software company really ought to get involved and use it. On the other hand, ChatGPT is probably the most successful consumer AI in history. And its ease of use and its approachability, I think everybody should get involved. And whether it's somebody in a developing country or a student, it is very clear that it is essential to learn how to use AI, how to direct an AI, how to prompt an AI, how to manage an AI, how to guardrail the AI, evaluate the AI. These skills are no different than leading people, managing people, things that you and I do all the time. So in the future, instead of biological, carbon-based AIs, in the future we're also going to have digital versions of AIs, silicon versions of AIs, and we'll have to manage them. They're just part of our digital workforce, if you will. And so I would advocate that for the developing countries, build your infrastructure, get engaged in AI, and recognize that AI is likely to close the technology divide.
Right.
Because it is so easy to use and so abundant and so accessible. And so, I'm actually fairly optimistic about the potential of AI to lift the countries that are emerging. And for many people who haven't had computer science degree, all of you can be programmers now, you know? And so in the past, we had to learn how to program a computer. Now you program a computer by saying to the computer, how do I program you? You know? And if you don't know how to use an AI, just go up to the AI and say, I don't know how to use an AI, how do I use an AI? And it would explain it to you. And you know, you say, I like to write a program to create my own website. How do I do that? And it says, it would ask you a whole bunch of questions about what kind of website you would like to build, and then write you the code. And so it is that easy to use. And
this is what I've been saying for the longest time now. There is going to be a time that we looked at AI and we and look back and say there's a time without AI, there's a time with AI. I don't think AI is going to solve all the problems here today, but there will be a time that we look back and say this was a world without AI, this was a world with AI. AI will change every single person's life, not just by chatbots, but with everything you interact with, the hospital, the doctors, drugs, infrastructure, efficiencies, workplaces, everything. AI is going to change the world, whether you like it or not. It's coming, so you might as well be invested in the right areas. And we're going to be looking at that in the portfolio challenge. Again, if there's 3 spots left now for today's 60% off deal. As soon as Martyn's live with Trump, those spots are going to go, I'm sure. So if you do want to take advantage of it, have a look at the portfolio challenge chart training course, the debt planner, budget planner, the cheat sheets tomorrow with the carry trade. We're going to do a specific cheat sheet, all my charts, all my levels for XRP, and then the daily newsletter. Then there is this 60% off deal right now.
To now lead past the era of software. The United States really led the era of software. AI is software that doesn't need to write software. You don't write AI, you teach AI. And so get in early now so that you can now fuse your industrial capability, your manufacturing capability with artificial intelligence, and that brings you into the world of physical AI or robotics. You know, robotics is a once in a generation opportunity for the European nations. Now, whether it's, you know, well, all of the countries that I visit here, industrial base is really, really strong. The other thing to realize is that so much of the deep sciences are still very, very strong here in Europe. Right. And the deep sciences now have the benefit of applying artificial intelligence to accelerate your discovery. And so I think that it's fairly certain that you have to get serious about increasing your energy supply so that you could invest in the infrastructure layer so that you could have a rich ecosystem of artificial intelligence here in Europe.
So what I'm hearing is we're far from an AI bubble. The question is, are we investing enough? Let's turn it around, because there's so many people talking about a bubble, but the question is, what I'm hearing from you is, you know, are we investing enough to do what we need to do to broaden the global economy?
And so one good test on the AI bubble is to recognize that Nvidia has now millions of Nvidia GPUs in the cloud. We're in every cloud, you know, we're used everywhere. And if you try to rent an Nvidia GPU these days, it's so incredibly hard. And the spot price of GPU rentals is going up. Right. Not just the latest generation, but 2-generation-old GPUs. The spot price of rentals are going up. And the reason for that is because the number of AI companies that are being created, the number of companies shifting their R&D budget. Lilly is a great example. 3 years ago, most of their R&D budget, all of their R&D budget, was probably wet labs. Notice the big AI supercomputer that they've invested in, the big AI lab, increasingly that R&D budget is going to shift towards AI. And so the AI bubble comes about because the investments are large. And the investments are large because we have to build the infrastructure necessary for all of the layers of AI above it. And so I think the opportunity is really quite extraordinary. And everybody ought to get involved. Everybody ought to get engaged. We need more energy. I think that we all recognize that. We need more land power and shell. We need more trade skill workers. And in fact,
Leomir, that is just a ridiculous comment. And we're banning you from the channel. Why would you say such a thing? if I was from Pakistan and you asked and you knew I was from Pakistan, perfectly legitimate question. But no, I'm not from Pakistan. And asking a question of where in Pakistan I'm from is really ridiculous. So what I'm going to do is ban you.
The investment opportunities and the investment scale is going up. The number of startups, as I mentioned earlier, that 2025, the largest investment year in VC history, over $100 billion around the world. Most of it was AI natives. And so these AI companies are building basically the application layer above. And they're going to need infrastructure. They're going to need our investment, and go build this future.
And I actually believe it's going to be a great investment for pension funds around the world to be a part of that, to grow with this AI world. And this is one of my messages as so many political leaders. We need to make sure that the average pensioner, the average saver is a part of that growth. If they're just watching it from the sidelines, they're going to feel left out.
And we want to invest in infrastructure.
Right.
Infrastructure is a great investment opportunity. This is the single largest infrastructure build-out in human history.
Yep.
Get involved.
We're out of time. Hopefully everybody in the audience and everybody on the web streaming is seeing the power of Jensen Huang as a leader, not just a leader in technology and AI, but a leader in business, and also a leader in heart and soul, which is really important today, having that leadership from the heart and the soul. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
There we go. That was Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang live. Big takeaways I'm taking from that is AI is for now not going to replace jobs. So it will replace some jobs, but it's not going. We're not going to have a massive unemployment crisis. There is specific parts of AI. You don't just need to invest in Nvidia, Google, these companies. There is the infrastructure build out, which is what I'll be looking at in the newsletter. There is the effect it has on drug companies like Eli Lilly and how quickly they can start producing drugs. Or again, I'm not a massive fan of the pharmaceutical industry, but also obviously I do also believe in medicine to an extent as well. So on that side of things, if AI helps create medicines, then I'm all for it, and that's an area of investment. So yeah, there's that infrastructure, energy, medicine side of things. To me, is areas I want to be researching to be part of that AI boom. And they talked about the bubble, and I don't think there's a massive bubble right now either. So let's go to that program, see what else is playing. Davos is the star of the show today. Everyone, all financial markets around the world are looking at Davos today. We've got President Trump now coming up in soon. So let's see if there's anything else going on, and then we can. Oh, here we go. China's AI plus. Yeah, this would be very interesting. Is this live right now? Yeah, this is China. China is so ahead of every other country, I'd say, not just with AI. I don't think they're ahead with like chips with Nvidia, but as an economy, the infrastructure in place is incredible, and it's worth looking into. I'm not saying I love China. I'm saying it's worth exploring. So here we go. China's AI plus economy. This has just started.
I think the opportunity is massive, and we are just at the beginning, and the ability to transform this into throughout the economy to create a true value in short period of time, as the whomever does that will be the winner. And I think China AI Plus is a true serious desire to deliver on that to win the race.
Mm-hmm. Right. Your spot on China's AI Plus action plan is what we're going to zoom in now. Professor Gong, give us an academic, perspective on China's AI Plus action plan and how it shows about the potential of AI in creating growth drivers across China's economy.
Yeah, actually, the AI Plus action is a national initiative officially announced last year in August. So in this document, if you read the document, you cannot find any words talking about AGI. You cannot find any words talking about the chips. It does not mean the Chinese government don't understand the importance of AGI, don't understand the importance of chips. But that means the Chinese government lay more emphasis on the diffusion, on the adoption, on the penetration of AI, and to make AI really make values in production and in the daily life. So the main direction is to move AI from chat to product to services. So the goal was set in 2 steps. First, by 2027, next year, the diffusion rate of the AI agent and the terminal, intelligent terminal will exceed 70%, and by 2030, over 90%. So that's the goal of the diffusion of China. This
Bear with me. Sorry about that. We're back live at the World Economic Forum.
They give us the environment to build a real scalable system in production. There will be like many data, many use cases that people can try, use AI to couple with. So I think this is one of the advantage in China market. And I think secondly is the openness to new technology, because we have seen it continuously, the pattern in several of the technology wave, in EV, in solar, in smartphone, in autonomous driving. I'm personally surprised, 85% of the Chinese people think autonomous driving is safe, and also their lifestyle and productivities. So that's why I think China has like thousands of robotaxi already, run in like tens of the cities. So I think this like openness to technology, really ready to embrace new technology, is very unique for China. And also, I think lastly, I think AI actually helps a lot on really deliver a hyper productivity tool for the individuals. Even today, we are still a startup company. We do a lot of the hirings. The resume that we receive are personal website already. Nobody actually give us the PDF anymore. They use the web coding product. People with zero knowledge of code before, but they can create this like beautiful personal website to applying for jobs. So I see this like adoption is from different layers of drivers.
That's right. And Davos and Jensen is serving vast industries, and you see the full spectrum. Just tell us how Chinese, technology and the industrial leaders are integrating AI and to drive tangible results.
Well, we definitely work with a lot of customers from different industries to deploy all forms of AI. When people talk about AI, I think we might tend to think of one big super system and give it a term AGI. But in fact, in reality, there are many different types of models that serve different purposes. And more specifically, when you look at the different industries and different enterprises, they are trying to use AI in every single function within their operation. For example, at Tencent, not only many of our programmers are using coding tools extensively to churn out features much faster than before, we're also seeing product managers, designers, accountants, basically
A humane being has tipped €5
roles.
through Super Chat. Thanks, Sensei, and forward to your newsletter.
Sparkling heart emoji.
Wow, thank you very much, human being Liz. I'm actually working on it now. I don't know if it'll be out at a normal time, but we had special coverage today. We will have a special cheat sheet tomorrow ahead of tomorrow's interest rate decision from Bank of Japan. Thank you very much, human being Liz. Really appreciate it.
Photo technology, Gen 3D model technology to speed up their product design cycle. We help a lot of customers to use AI to get better ROI on their marketing dollars that they spend by better targeting, more personalized service that leads to better conversion. And not to mention, there are a lot of AI applications in healthcare. We help some of the pharmaceutical companies with drug discovery. So I think we're seeing a lot of energy, positive energy to endorse AI in the current environment. One thing I want to highlight, though, is that it's pretty common in China that people are looking for good ROI. They want to lower the cost of using AI, and for us, we, as part of our cloud technology, we always look for optimization for the cost of using AI so that it can be distributed, it can be diffused to a much wider community, leaving nobody behind.
Mm-hmm. And Hisham, let me bring back your global investment perspective. Now you have heard about China's national strategy and also these business dynamics. What do you think about China's AI plus development? And do you find it maybe, how do you compare it into global AI development?
Yeah, so my view is, one, it starts from the top. Yeah, so it's the discipline and direction, whether it's a country or a region or or even if it's a company. So in our company, I went and we assigned 10% of the yearly objectives of all chiefs that they have to see how to adapt the AI, and not to adapt AI as an interface, but how to transform that in actual efficiency. Now, if you take that example and move it to a country, you'll see the compounded benefit onto the economy. Then you look at the open structure of the China AI philosophy, let's call it. Then you have the non-open structure. Okay, and that signal that the benefit, they want to see it to trickle down into the economy, into the companies, so it's a more of affordable. So it's not the benefit of that company, of that product, the return of that individual. It's not an individual, it's an economy. And this is very interesting. And they have applied that across the economy. Now in our region, you will see also very leading models in UAE, for example, and how they want to make the AI as a part of mandatory learning process in schools, also in Bahrain. Yeah, so different countries, they are taking different commitment levels. I think soon or now we are seeing AI becoming as a part of the lifestyle. So it's a more of the lifestyle and how you utilize that. But it's very interesting to see what's the end game. I think China is looking to create value throughout the economy, very clear, with very specific objectives across the economy, not just as a benefit of those companies and and this is the difference in the philosophy, I think.
That's right. That's a very, your observation is very right on the point, because China is really integrating AI into various aspects of the economy. And talking about the economy, it ultimately is about people's economy and how we work. Professor Guang, in your opinion, how is China's AI push influencing workforce strategies from talent development to organizational design?
Actually, back to the national initiative AI Plus, there are six focuses are identified. First is to use AI to empower sci-tech R&D. And second is to enhance the capability of our production industry, including agriculture, and to increase the quality of our production, to reduce the carbon emission, and so on and so forth. And the third is to increase the domestic consumption. That is a very important choice to make this, because that's on the other side, China is to try to decrease the trade surplus worldwide. So we will increase the domestic consumption. Early this morning, I heard from Jingdong JD that the goods named with smart has doubled the last year. And the fourth one is to increase the welfare of the citizen, including education and health care. Talking about education, now in China, we have very ambitious program to embed AI, basic literacy, from the primary school. And also in university, the AI agents widely used. For example, in my university, there's about 1,000 different kinds of agents is used by professors and students to help their studies, their learnings. So that's the program. I think it is very important for the young people to have the capability to use AI. We don't know the future job, but we know definitely the future job needs the capability of using AI.
Right. And I think China is definitely setting out these priorities. And Yutong, you're in the industry, and a lot of people are comparing the environment of AI development between China and other, major countries when it comes to, like infrastructure or energy or other, key elements to drive the future AI development. In your opinion, what supports are proving the most critical in, scaling the successful AI use?
I think there are definitely differences that what we are trying to do. I think we have built a comparable state-of-the-art performance model, but by only using 1% of the resource of the comparable frontier labs. So I think the difference is from day one that we know that we don't have the luxury to just scale up the compute. So I think our development approach is more about we do a lot of fundamental research and innovations. So the founder of the company is actually from academia. All the technology of AI actually all from academia, very open community. And then we actually focus a lot on doing the fundamental research to trying to increase the efficiency. So I would say the efficiency of development is very important, and not many companies can do that. I think a lot of the research are just stay at the lab, but we spend a lot of time to making all the research work in a production system with all the engineering mindset to make it work at scale. Like Moon, the optimizer that we are using, we are the first one to make it workable in a large language model training. And also we have the linear attention, we call it a Kimi linear, which is faster than the full attention system. So I think we did a lot of things to make sure that the efficiency is really, really high. And this is what has been defined when you're developing the AI systems from China. So I think that from the support perspective, definitely infrastructure
concern. And I'd like to understand the level of the content of AI education in Chinese elementary and junior high and high schools. Is creative education such as developing product using AI, not just AI literacy, including in compulsory education? And also, how are the teachers trained or supported so that they can teach AI effectively?
That's a nationwide program for teaching the teachers, training the trainers to use AI. And also we carefully adopted the United Nations framework for the competence of teachers and students in AI. So if you could see, China is the first country to have the white paper on the AI application in education. So if you have chance to read that white paper, you can get more information.
Can I add to that? I think the new generation learns AI not only from schools and the traditional education institutes by having very free tools. In our case, like what we call yuanbao. Many young generations can go to these ChatGPT-like app to ask questions, to meet their curiosity needs. I think encouraging the new generation to be curious and use these freely accessible AI tools would be the best way to develop the habits of using AI as part of the learning tool.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Please.
Thank you for an interesting session. My name is Saeed Al-Saqri. I'm an economist from Oman. And I am curious, anybody can answer actually, about the impact or the negative impact of using AI on education especially and on labor market. Adopting technologies has always been also part of adaptation, has had negative impact on education, on economic activities, especially the labor market. I don't know if you have assessed or looked into that, and what was your conclusion, and how you have already adapted. And I'm very happy to see that you have a white paper for use of AI in education system. But maybe you have already an experience and have seen some of the negative impact of adopting AI and the impact on people's education abilities and so on, and also on the traditional jobs and the markets that usually everybody can do, and now it is being done by AI. Thank you very much.
Let me shortly answer a question about education, because there's a negative side. So the challenge is how to help students to use AI to empower their deep thinking, not satisfied by the instant answer. That's a very big challenge. And also talking about the workforce, the employment. By far, that's the early phase of AI adopting. The employment is increasing. Last year, the year before last year, and in the Chinese job market, there's deficits of 5 million workers required to have the AI capability. But along with deeper adoption of AI, some jobs will be replaced. So there's a nationwide plan to upskilling the workers to be able to use AI and to find new tasks, which is empowered by AI. So I stop here. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I just want to add some echo to Professor Gong's comments. I think it's not necessarily a negative effect, but I do see change in terms of the people that we want to work with, like new type of AI native organizations. So we really emphasize on having the people have general intelligence capabilities rather than specializations. I think that's like a trend because AI can provide some on-demand expertise in the domain. And also, I think for the organizations, the historical function-based organization structure will also be changed. So I think secondly is I feel like human creating new knowledge at a faster speed than before. At least for the past 2 years, I sleep very little, and we have a lot of progress, and I think every day is like we're feeling that the learning ability is very important than the past experience, because the past experience and the past knowledge may get expired sooner than before. So I think that is also very important. So actually, I think the education system, if they can adapt to develop more general thinking and general knowledge, and also
to reform.
Yeah, and also like a good, really good like a learning ability, really good AI proficiencies. We still think like we are still find difficulties in hiring rather than the opposite.
I think we need to learn how to ask the right questions. That's a very important. Yeah.
Maybe no time for one. Maybe just can you do it very briefly?
Very briefly. So last year it was noteworthy. In the green room, American supremacy in AI was celebrated, and 3 weeks later there was the DeepSeek moment. What's the likelihood we have something similar this year? How far are we from another DeepSeek moment with China?
Don't know. Don't know.
We will launch a new model very soon.
Their model is quite good. Kimi, this is a good model.
Okay, let's wait and see. And there are always new excitement on the horizon, and let's we have this open-minded participants in this industry, and let's hope for more progress in the sector. And thank you so much for joining us. And if you continue with this, your thoughts about the conversation, you can use the hashtag AM26 on social media. The session is concluded. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Again, that was live from Davos. That was China and AI. We know how ahead China are in certain areas, maybe not with their chips, but with the implementation of those technologies, they are ahead. Sometimes you look at these Chinese cities and you think they're from a different world. They are very ahead, and it's always worth seeing what they are up to. We've seen 2 big IPOs from China as well on the Hong Kong exchange. So always great to keep an eye on that. If you have just tuned in, can you please do hit that like button? Please do subscribe. I will play Brad Garlinghouse live at Davos again for you, and then we'll go into Trump's speech, which will be live, but we'll play the replay of Brad in a second. I do want to let you know there is 3 spots left of the 60% off. So there's 3 more for today. And that will give you the 60% off deal on the annual plan. There is a free plan if you guys can want to go on the free plan. There is a free plan, there is a monthly plan, but right now the best price that will ever be, if you join in the future, it will be more expensive. It is the 60% off to mark the launch of the Portfolio Challenge, the training course, and the budget planner and debt planner. So I'll give you that link now. Is there any other comments we have here on the plan? No, let's see what we can do here then. What's the time now? It's 11:30. So here in the UK, Trump is speaking, I think, in 2 hours. So let's see if there's anything else live for now. And then I'll replay Brad Garlinghouse and Brian Armstrong on the stage. Let's just have a quick look what's on the program for today. Now open forum, understanding quantum reality. We just heard from Nvidia CEO, and then we just went to China. So it's now 12 in. Yes, what do we have next? Oh, we've got JP Morgan coming up shortly with Jamie Dimon. yeah, we will be covering Trump shortly, and I'll be playing Brad Garlinghouse again for the US audience waking up. That was requested yesterday by a lot of people to replay it, so we will do that. Yeah, and then this is Donald Trump's address at 2 o'clock in Europe. 2 o'clock in Europe. 2:30. Yeah, 2 o'clock in Europe. So that's in about an hour and a half. So what I will do is let's play this. This is live right now at Davos. We'll listen to this. I'm trying to get some of the newsletter done right now, and then we'll come back to it.
And
so stay with us. Trump is coming up next. So is Brad.
Just explain what is this area that we're talking about?
So what I'm trying to do, and a big part of it, not everything that we do in quantum technologies, is to build a quantum computer, and I'll explain a little bit about that. And what we can do is we can actually take advantage of quantum mechanics to do computation that for certain problems can be way, way more powerful than what we can do with classical computers. So to understand that, let's just go back to basic computer ideas. In a regular computer, you store your information as a bit that's either 0 or it's 1. And by stringing together zeros and ones to make words, computer words that can represent data, you can manipulate that in a very powerful way. And what quantum mechanics does is it allows you not just to have 0 or 1, but it can have 0 and 1 at the same time in some quantum state. Kind of like the idea that an electron, let's say in a hydrogen atom, is at multiple positions around the nucleus at the same time. You could have multiple 0 and 1 states at the same time. And what this does is allows you to invent new algorithms taking advantage of the 0 and 1 state. So one way to think about it is when you think about how to manipulate 0 or 1, you have basic operations. You can change the 0 to 1. You can interact 2 bits together. And in a quantum computer, you have those operations, but you also have operations that deal with the 0 and 1 state. So you can think of it as having an enhanced instruction set. And using that enhanced instruction set, because it can come about by nature, you can then develop algorithms that could solve certain problems much, much faster than if you have a classical computer. And one simple way to think about it is with the 0 and 1 state, you can send that piece of data through your quantum computer and do a parallel computation between those 2 states. Now, a factor of 2, okay, that's nice. But if you have many qubits together, then the parallel computation goes as 2 to the number of qubits, which is, in fact, a huge number. So by the time you get to something, few hundred qubits, that number, 2 to the few hundred, is greater than the number of atoms in the universe, and clearly it could be very powerful.
Yeah, well, thank you. And to add to that, if I may, you're used to the computers that work with zeros and ones and what kind of problems those do, because they operate in your phones, and we have the neural networks that do the AI that look for relationships between words, and they correlate things. And then these computers really are designed around solving problems where there are many very similar solutions, nearby, and they find the optimum for them. So it's a
we're talking quantum computers, very interesting,
powerful, right? If I could come to you, because you represent national laboratories, and when we think about the creation of new technologies, very often we see, ideas might originate at universities like yours at Berkeley and Santa Barbara, and then very often they'll find a stage where they're working at national labs where they and you lead one of the most famous and greatest national labs in the world, Lawrence Livermore National Lab. So Kim, what's up at Livermore, or just share a little bit with us about your perspective on quantum.
Sure. So I run one of the national labs in the United States. We're one of 17 run by the Department of Energy, and we're large multidisciplinary organizations. So what that means is we can do science at a scale and a level of complexity that it would be hard for a smaller organization or an academic department to pursue. So quantum is a great example where you want to bring many disciplines together to learn how to exploit this new technology. So we have numerous activities in this area. In one case, we're trying to understand materials and the properties of the components that you would build into quantum systems. How do you build better qubits? In another activity, we're trying to understand how to use qubits in quantum computing. So there we have two components to that. One is understanding how these systems work and how to make them operate better. So they're prone to things like errors and can be difficult to operate. So we're working on making these systems better and on understanding how to do error correction and things like that. But we're also trying to teach our researchers how to use them. So you program a quantum computer differently than you would program a classical computer. So our scientists, physicists, biologists, chemists need to learn how to speak in this new language and program those systems. And then the third area we're interested in is quantum sensing, where you can use quantum systems to be very sensitive detectors. So that could be for big science experiments. In our case, we're part of the Axion dark matter search. Or for applications like trying to understand underground structures or doing detection under the ocean. So each of these is really important and requires that multidisciplinary character.
I guess on the sensing front, if you have one of these systems that's between a 0 and 1, and somebody opens a door down the hall, it can lose whether it's a 0 or 1. So they're very sensitive, right? They're super sensitive, but you have to protect them somehow, right?
That's right. It's a bug in computing. It's a feature for sensing.
Yeah. Andrew, you work at a really high-energy company in California called Sandbox AI. I guess it's a spin-out from Google. And you're practicing finding out what quantum really will do in different ways and looking, I guess, probably closer to applications. And so maybe you could tell us a little bit about, what you do in this area.
Yeah, so I think what I can contribute to the conversation is that what was described earlier is some mathematical techniques that come out of physics that allow you to build models that are different from language models. So we call them quantitative models that can model the world in systems of high complexity. So we do atomic level simulation to do things like drug discovery, to discover new materials or optimize materials in areas like magnets and battery chemistries, catalysts. And what's interesting is that we don't have to wait for quantum computers to be able to make a lot of progress in this area. As Professor Martinez said, there are some things that you just can't do on classical compute. But the good news is if we take the mathematics that's been developed over decades to solve physics problems, we put it to work on existing GPU platforms, we can actually make maybe 97, 98% of the calculations that we would want to make to be able to try to understand, for example, if you have a misfolded protein, like the kind that causes Alzheimer's disease, we believe, you can understand how could I design.
Again, we've just come back to medicine and AI, an industry I'm going to research in the newsletter.
Doing the harmful thing that it's going to do in the brain. So that's what we're working on right now. And I think maybe if there's one kind of exciting thing to say for those of you that are students, it's that the most valuable people in our company right now are computational physicists, computational chemists, computational biologists. And what those kind of integrated skill sets represent is an ability to go deep into the science and then understand how to use computing power and AI tools to be able to do the kind of modeling and to be able to solve the kinds of equations that let you take full advantage of these amazing computing platforms in order to solve science problems. And maybe I'll just say, if I can just end on a note of negative campaigning and make an incendiary remark, all of the language model tools that you're using are basically poorly designed for science. They can be a really interesting interface layer to talk to scientific tools, but if you want to use a language model to understand what's happening at the atomic level, it's going to give you a garbage answer because that's not what it was designed to do. I use them every day, nothing wrong with using them for what they're good for, but the existing universe of language models that's out there is not the set of tools we need for science.
So predicting the next word isn't necessarily getting all the science right.
Exactly.
It's really a different kind of model.
Yeah, what we want to do is we want to achieve trustworthy predictions in complex systems.
Yeah.
And words is a complex system, but it's not what's happening at the atomic scale. And you know, if I could just. Well,
Please,
sorry, Paul. If I can, so
one more.
I know that there are a lot of students.
I'm glad we got the back and forth going here. That's good.
Well, so there are a lot of students in the audience, and so this is directed primarily to you. So, okay, what's cool about a language model and the architecture behind it, which you may have heard of, it's called a neural network, is that we use computers to kind of simulate the neurons in the brain. And the way that we do that is by turning each neuron, or I shouldn't say turning each neuron into, but using a three-dimensional vector as a neuron. So x, y, z coordinates align with the length and those coordinates. And so if you're doing science problems, actually, it turns out that at molecular level, they're dramatically more complicated than language problems. And so we need to use math, which can handle a much greater number of variables, many more parameters. And so we use higher dimensional math. So we use mathematics that can be 200 dimensional or 2,000 dimensional at the level of the neuron. So anyway, very cool. We can do this on GPUs, and it can solve tons of problems from drug discovery materials, like I said, but even problems like finance or problems like understanding the weather. You're going to have available to you, if you lean into it, amazing tools to be able to tackle very complex problems in a way that's manageable.
Yeah, it's going to open a lot of doors. So, Lena, you were for quite a long time at the Niels Bohr Institute. And of course, Niels Bohr, he was, helped us understand atoms, where the electrons are moving around, and famously had that big fight with Einstein, which ultimately, he won. and so you've had that part of your life as a physicist and doing quantum things, and now you're at a foundation, and the foundation is playing a role in this ecosystem of trying to help this area grow. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So I now work as Chief Scientific Officer in the Novo Nordisk Foundation, which is a charitable nonprofit foundation.
And they have a little money, I hear, because of, I guess, the development of some of the weight loss drugs, the GLP-1s. So, pretty popular product, yeah. Saving
so
a lot of lives.
It's an enterprise foundation, which means that we own companies, for instance, Novo Nordisk, that produces insulin.
Yeah.
But also produces semaglutide-derived products like Ozempic and Wegovy. Yes, and actually the foundation owns 180 companies, of which most are based in the US. So I also have a background as a professor of physics from the Niels Bohr Institute, where I did plasmonics, like you did actually. And so I have a scientific background. If now we turn back to Niels.
Let's listen into this, a special guest on the show.
At Tim Rogers 6,982 tipped $10 through Super Chat. Martyn and Sensei, thanks to each of you for your efforts to better educate members on investments and TV coverage. I appreciate each platform and the excitement and value you guys bring to the party.
Thank you so much, Tim Rogers, one of our longest members, a member for over 2 years. Tim Rogers has an amazing investment thesis, one that many people should be adopting, where it's long-term growth and buying the dips on good companies. That is one way to really guarantee a win, is because it takes the emotion out of it. He's got a great strategy. If you ever get to hear from Tim Rogers, sometimes he calls in. Please do always listen in. But Tim Rogers, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thanks for your kind words. Really do appreciate it. Yeah, we're covering everything right now. We got up early to cover the Brad event. Now there is a few important events happening at Davos. The whole world is looking at this right now. Then we're going over to Trump. So I might play the Brad again, play Trump after. I'm currently doing this while trying to finish off the newsletter as well.
I think that the European Union and Europe, the European countries, also Switzerland, I believe, and the UK, we are frankly not very good at. We're losing out on many of the excellent companies that are based in research. They come from the university environment. They're excellent engineers, entrepreneurs. They go to different regions, basically because they cannot find the venture capital that will support them if they stay in Europe. So one of the things we really try to do is to enable strategic thinking, to enable mission-driven research. So one example is within quantum compute, where we have a program that is aimed at making fault-tolerant quantum compute in an academic environment. And for that, we need quantum materials, we need quantum chips that can then supply the region with high-quality chips. For that, actually, we need to be extraordinarily mission-driven, and that requires collaboration. And I'm looking at you guys here, because this is actually not the lonely wolf approach. Mm-hmm. And so this is something which is quite different way of thinking than was the normal way in research. And I'm a researcher myself. I've been at the Niels Bohr Institute for 20 years. Look, most people, they are lonely wolves. They want their nature papers out. But if you want to, say, realize fault-tolerant quantum compute, you need to collaborate. And I think that is true for all these critical technologies. If you really want to make a splash, if you want to do something that will have an impact to really benefit the world, you need to collaborate. And you need to agree on where you're going.
Thank you for that. I actually just, as a scientist myself in so many ways, I just want to build on that for a moment. Because I know there's a lot of young people here, and there's so much hope about what you might do in your lives. And I do think there's this image out there of, and maybe it is Niels Bohr kind of locked away somewhere in this old, and he's all by himself, and his hair's kind of going like this, and it's kind of like, that it's that maybe that's a very lonely thing or something like that.
We've just got a question about the Bank of Japan decision. You've said the 23rd, but in the US it'll be on the 22nd. And in the UK, it'll be like 2, 3, 4, 5 a.m. on the 23rd. So yeah, just want to clarify that the Bank of Japan interest rate decision is not today. It is tomorrow night / Friday, very early in the morning. We'll be covering it live on the show. We'll have the cheat sheet around it. I will tell you more on that, but my expectation is no rate hike, but that doesn't even matter. It's about what the indication is for the future. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll bring that to you. So thank you for your question.
If I could now, and you kind of queued us up with what you said about ideas having come from Europe, but value maybe not so much. Obviously, governments care enormously about the conditions.
Oh, we've just got one more person sign up to newsletter. So there's only 3 spots left for today. Remember, it's 6% off, 5 spots a day until the day of the 7 days, 7 days left. So that's the day of the FOMC. We're launching all the new products. If you want to get the 60% off, there's only 3 spots left today. The link is in the live chat. To go and grab that, you'll get the cheat sheet for tomorrow. Plus, I haven't sent out today's newsletter, so you'll get the full newsletter today as well. Plus all the training calls, portfolio challenge, everything like that.
There's a kind of like a laser-like focus to bring advanced knowledge together. So what's it like? You're the Minister for Digital Development and Information in Singapore. Tell us a little bit about what that's like.
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me on this panel. I'm just wanting to make sure that you can hear me right at the back. Is it okay? I think, is it better now? You can hear me?
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
So I'm really a very oddball on this panel because we have very distinguished scientists, researchers who know a lot about quantum technology. So I'm going to give you a lens that is different but complementary. I'm looking at it from the point of view of a policymaker. And as digital minister, I have to recommend to my prime minister, to his cabinet, and persuade the citizens about the necessity and the usefulness of our investments in quantum technology. And I'm very happy that at the forum, we're seeing a room full of young people, which is not something that we see a lot of at the forum.
Not enough.
And you are a wonderful reminder of why we do the work that we do. And ultimately, investing in technology is about creating opportunities for humankind. And who will stand to benefit most from these investments? It would have to be young people.
Oh, the scarf.
Shall I turn it back on?
Oh, your scarf.
It's a green light.
Your scarf.
Your scarf. Maybe
Oh.
you should take off your scarf.
The scarf is causing it to be muffled.
It's a beautiful.
Oh, it dropped out.
It's a beautiful scarf, but let's take it off.
Let me just hold this.
That's great.
That's
I think
good.
it looks better.
Great.
Yeah, very good.
So, from a public policy perspective, ultimately we want to see our citizens benefit from this technology. So you have heard of the Scouts motto, which is to be prepared. And the
XRP
question
coming
is that
down
when it comes
fast
to
now.
Quantum technology, what do we want to be prepared for? As governments acting on behalf of our citizens, we want to be prepared so that the upsides can be enjoyed by our citizens. But equally, we also need to be prepared to understand the risks and to moderate against its most excessive or ill effects. So let me then just ask the question, for Singapore, what do we see potentially as the upside? It goes to the heart of what this technology can do, which is complex computations. So what is it in Singapore that will benefit from complex computations? Well, we are a very small island. We are only 720 square kilometers. It's tiny. We have 6 million people squeezed onto this little island. But we do contribute a little bit to the well-being of other people in the world by having a port that operates very efficiently. This port enables many containers to be moved in a way that would otherwise make it more costly for us to get the goods that we would expect to have to make our daily lives more convenient. Now, the interesting thing about making the port effective and efficient is that optimization is actually its most critical function. There are many vessels calling at the port, right, and there are many containers that have to be moved in a gazillion number of permutations onto the vessel, off the vessel, and each time you don't do it efficiently, these containers have to be stacked 10 high. And in order to get to box number 2, in order to go to vessel number 364, if you have to do many, many different movements in order to achieve that, that makes it more costly. That means that the bottle of water that we drink, the scarf that we get to buy, will most likely end up having to cost more. So the way we're thinking about it is if we can use quantum computing to improve the efficiency of how a port operates, that serves as a very useful way for us to make a small contribution and also then to be more competitive and as a result sustain the relevance of our maritime center and hopefully in doing so young people in Singapore continue to have a good livelihood. So there is one way of thinking about how this technology can be very useful. But of course, we also have a financial center, and there are also good jobs there. But as you can well imagine, in finance, there are also complex computations. How do you price a derivative product that has got many different kinds of elements built into its risk as well as its returns profile? So these are just some of the reasons why we believe that understanding quantum technology, being invested in building up an ecosystem. I really appreciate what Lena was talking about and what you were talking about, that science is a very social activity. So even in terms of how we can make this technology come alive in Singapore and anywhere else in the world, we believe that it's necessary to build an ecosystem. You can't just have 1 or 2 people, and we've been very blessed to have some outstanding researchers choose to work out of Singapore. But we believe that this ecosystem is essential to build up, and some of it will include startups that are trying to solve very specific problems in making quantum computing relevant and real in any context. But I think also it's important to have the sense of community, a sense of community that sees this technology as being applied for the public good, and also a sense of responsibility to making sure that its risks can be properly managed.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
I had something to add. I just found out yesterday that my company will be collaborating with Singapore.
We are so excited about it.
Yeah, and what's interesting is you're very good at semiconductor manufacturing.
We are.
And we hope to take advantage of that as you help build components for the quantum computer.
That's right. And so we don't have everything,
Yes.
but we have some things.
Yes.
And one of the some things is semiconductor manufacturing. Right. The other thing that we hope we have is that we have problems. We have problems that quantum computing can help to solve. Yeah. And we want to demonstrate that the solving of these problems can be a plus for mankind.
Okay. You also have two world-class universities, at least that I know of, NUS and NTU, which have been very welcoming to scientists from around the world, which is phenomenal. I loved your boxcar statement. If I could, I just want to try to make a connection if I can. So Bohr was trying to figure out, it's called quantum mechanics, because it was trying to describe, he was trying to have an equation that would describe how electrons move in atoms. If it's moving this fast here now, where's it going to be later? And trying to describe that motion. And turns out all the old equations of mechanics just manifestly did not work. And so that group of 37 human beings that that ultimately opened the door to everything we're talking about, they developed a set of equations that describe how electrons, and there could be lots of them, and they don't like each other, they push against each other, but sometimes they kind of do like each other. Very complicated motion of these things. They create a set of equations that works to describe those things. I mean, it works. And now you're saying, hey, that same set of equations could actually help us thinking about how we move these boxcars around as we're trying to do transportation. And that's the bottom line. That's why quantum computing turns out to be so powerful, is because anytime you've got lots of objects or lots of things that are connected with each other, and there's some optimization that involves really discriminating very close but not identical solutions, it just shines. And so it's going to be very important because those problems are there everywhere. Now, I want to come back to you, John, and this is very important. Working at, you worked at Berkeley, you worked at Santa Barbara, and other places. I'm going to ask about that. But there have been at least a couple of moments in that career when, boom, things really changed. And you were right there. And so, maybe you could tell us, what happened in those moments to the extent that you're willing to share. And I know that one of the key moments was also when you, a university professor, went. It took a lot of oomph to go through that, and you said to Google, let's do something together. So can you just talk about those moments, maybe?
Yeah, so, clearly, the Nobel Prize work was actually done for my thesis, which is a pretty amazing event in your life.
Thesis. So you
for
were
my
like,
PhD.
So when John Clark, he signed it? Yeah. So how old were you?
When he signed it, it's turning into thesis.
We've got a comment here. I don't quite understand it. Someone's saying, it's MP Jareth Garner. You are saying in capital letters, it says I have to verify my email to join Martyn's Discord. I think you've said this twice now. What's the problem with verifying an email? I don't understand why are you saying that in the live chat. That is standard procedures for an app like Discord, and that's not us putting things in place. But I assume Discord's doing that as a security measure. What is the problem with verifying your email?
Or physics, a lot of things we had to
A lot of stuff had to go right.
And I would say what happened is fairly soon we were trying something at high temperatures, and it was a total disaster. It didn't work at all, didn't make any sense. We then designed it more carefully, and then the data started making sense. And that was kind of the big moment. We still had to take the quantum data and do all that, but it was kind of a natural progression once we understood what was going on. And then I would say, later, which
and
really
that turned out to be one way you could make these quantum states,
right?
And they then are a kind of qubit that's between a 0 and 1. And you made like the first one that was electrically addressable.
Yeah, that's right. So normally you think about quantum mechanics as the physics of small atoms and molecules and the like. And what we showed is that quantum mechanics is much more general than that. You can have an electrical circuit that's about that big, and then you do the mathematics and physics properly, and then you can see quantum mechanics with that. And of course, what's interesting about that is we have our computers that are made out of electrical circuits. And if you can make qubits out of electrical circuits, then you can use all that technology to build up and build a quantum computer. So kind of along the way, there's lots of experiments we did, and the whole field did that. I would say one experiment we did at UC Santa Barbara, it was just a qubit connected to a microwave resonance, but we were able to generate these really complex states.
Sorry, I didn't realize that this volume was louder than the video. Is this a better volume? I do apologize. Urban Firewood says stop shouting. Sorry. I've seen some more messages. How long does it take to get your email? I assume it's within 15 minutes. We have verification link from Discord. I've got 5 Martyn Lucas friend requests and 2 Sensei requests. As we always say, nothing. We don't send you friend requests. We don't send you friend requests. I never even talk to people on Discord. I only talk on the newsletter. If Martyn's talking to you on the newsletter, you've probably sent him a friend request and you've got a relationship with him and you're a premium member. The golden rule is, guys, don't accept friend requests. The golden rule is, if anyone ever tries to say that they're me or Martyn, you just ignore it. We don't really message you like that. And especially if they start telling you about moving your crypto around, start asking about your finance, we will never, ever ask you about your finances, ask you to move your money around, never. So that is that. There's scammers everywhere, so be careful. Go check what Japan PM said about rate hikes Monday. Japan will no longer subsidize the global economy with its own deflation. We are entering a new area of fair value. Wow. It says it has to verify an email. Yeah, that's standard procedure. Now it is better. It's better now, yeah. I'm having the same problem getting phone rec. Yeah, Discord is annoying. Sometimes I have phone issues when I do verify in Discord. You have to, if you're doing emails, check your spam. But yeah, it's 99% of the time it's fine. So just keep an eye out for it. We're about to start live coverage of Trump as well.
Powerful quantum computation. Now, that was just showing that quantum mechanics worked at this big scale, which of course is necessary to do to know that your technology is going to work. And I think a lot of people at the time, that was enough qubits and complex enough, they weren't quite sure that whether that would work, but it practically worked. And then of course now what people are doing is trying to do something useful. So that's better qubits, better control, more qubits, finding the right algorithm. And there's just a lot of people, out there in the world right now really pushing to do something useful, which is kind of the next big milestone.
And we'll come around to that in a bit. Kim, I want to ask you, because Livermore is, it's just down the road from Berkeley, and it's a very special place. But it's also a place that thinks about things like, most of us probably want to have the data. When we have our information that we're sending around, we'd like only the person we're sending it to know what we're saying, and not just somebody else who happens to want to eavesdrop in and know what we happen to be saying, whatever that may be. We're not looking at you saying anything you shouldn't be sharing, but we all want to have our privacy at some level, and quantum has enormous implications for the privacy of information. And so, since Livermore deals with issues related to that in ways that governments care about, I wonder if you could just give a little bit of a sense of why that is.
Sure. So today we use algorithms to encrypt data that we care about to make sure that it stays private. So that could be you transmitting information to your bank, or governments transmitting information between each other. And there are a whole host of very secure algorithms that are in use today that work very well for that purpose.
And they're really hard for somebody. Somebody might capture the message, but they can't figure out what it says.
They can't figure out what it says, and no classical computer could break that encryption key. It's just too complex. There's no simple way to go about understanding how that data has been masked, essentially, from people who want to read it. But if you think about the power of these quantum systems, where they can begin to do these incredibly complex calculations at scales that are unimaginable with classical computing, you have the possibility that you can now break those encryption methods. So this would be able to unmask data, which would be a huge vulnerability for most of our secure systems. I mean, I don't know about the folks in the audience, but I do everything on my phone or on my computer at home. And so all of those systems would be vulnerable. On the good news front, there are approaches using quantum systems that will allow you to develop quantum encryption methods. And one of the features of these quantum systems is if you measure it, you sort of destroy the quantum state. So you'll know if someone is trying to...
If someone tried to eavesdrop, it actually is immediately detected. And that seems like a pretty good deal, because now we don't know. If somebody tries to, decrypt your message, we don't know if they've done that or not, but with quantum, we would know.
Right. And you could imagine that for people who are interested in understanding what others are thinking or doing or transmitting, they could be gathering data up and waiting for this moment when these encryption methods are able to be broken to look at all that old data. So there are a whole host of implications to privacy that come with the breaking of current encryption algorithms, but a lot of work is going on now to develop this quantum encryption approach, which will allow you to know when someone's trying to snoop on your data, just as you said.
Okay, I'm going to come right back to you, but I want to go here because this thing, what we just talked about, that you would know, depends on something called entanglement. And I want to go to Lena because there's a famous story of Bohr and Einstein having a conflict. Einstein didn't much believe that the equations for atoms moving around was right. And so he just struggled and struggled, and he tried to create a test case that would obviously be so silly that it would show that those equations could not be right. And ultimately, could you just say a little bit? I mean, you know that stuff, quite well. And so maybe you could just say a little bit about that.
Well, I'll just basically say that, of course, Einstein was proven wrong in that case.
Einstein was proven wrong.
But
his weird case that he created turns out to be foundational to quantum computing, right? So.
True. And he called it spooky action at a distance. And he wasn't believing that God was playing dice with the universe, of course. But maybe just one thing, I mean, the concept of entanglement also is behind. Now, we talked a lot about quantum compute.
Yeah.
I just want to mention also quantum sensing, which also relies on entanglement. And that's actually a much more tangible technology, you can say, in that it already, these extremely sensitive sensors, they exist and they are in use. For instance, they are being used at hospitals. So one of the things that we do as a foundation is that we enable the translation of quantum technologies into the biomedical space. And quantum sensing is exactly such a technology where you could use, actually it's being used to pick up extremely weak electromagnetic signals from the brain or from the heart. So you can, in a non-invasive manner, follow the action or the potential disability of the heart in a non-invasive manner, which is extremely useful. And such technology is actually already being used in using prototypes in Danish hospitals. I mean, I've seen them with my own eyes because part of our discussion
it's real health. Quantum will have a big impact on sensing and diagnosis for human health.
Yes. And so here we are trying to also give you maybe an impression of what is realistic and what is still some years out in the future. And so quantum sensing, it's here. So it can be used for diagnosis. Also, actually, it can be used if you have a blood sample from that blood sample, it can detect malnutrition, metabolic diseases. So that is extremely useful because it's very sensitive and non-invasive, and also it can actually be used in a low-middle income country setting. So it has a lot of potential.
Can I describe a thing that we're building that's like using one of these?
Okay, so we are about to start our next event.
It's Earth.
This was very interesting about quantum computers. Again, another area I want to research more and get invested in. So what we're about to do now is go over to our morning show event, our normal show that starts at 12:30 UK time, 2 hours before the opening bell every single day. But it's not just going to be a normal show. We're going to play Brad Garlinghouse live from Davos, or his speech from Davos earlier today. And then we're going to go into the live event from Trump. So that's all coming up in the next event. I'm going to now give you the link to the next event. That is where we're going to be going now. So let me give you that link in the live chat. It is still on the same channel. It's just we need to start our morning show, and then we can kick that off. That's starting in about 7 minutes time. So let me give you this link. Here we are. This is the next event. If everyone can click on that, if you don't click on it, you'll automatically get taken there anyway. That's where we're going now. Again, if you haven't got the newsletter, great time to get it. 60% off. There's 3 spots left. So that is where we're going now. Let me press the redirect and let's get ourselves over to the main event today, which is Trump and a replay of Brad, but Trump will be live as well. So let me play this for you. We'll be going over to Brad now. We'll have that replay over here. Yes, we've got that ready. And then Trump live with us. So here we go. If I go over here, make sure I'm doing this right. I don't want to. Yes, we're all set. We are all set for the next show. Edit that. Customize that. Okay, let me explain what we're doing once again. So I'm about to end this show. We're going to go over to my show again. You're going to see me in about 10 minutes time. So stay there, notify yourself. We'll go live there with a replay of Brad and then the live event of Trump. So thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll be back exactly where we are, same channel. I've given you the link in the live chat. Click on that right now. That's where we're going. See you in just 1 second.